Chapter 3904. Looks like I made the right choice in bringing the statue. With such a wonderful effect, it can save me a lot of energy to refine the evil spirits. Zhuowen muttered to himself, and his eyes shone with excitement. The effect of the battle-grade evil spirits was indeed not bad. After refining them, he could clearly feel that the god force in his body had increased by a lot. According to his estimation, if he refined another dozen or so battle-grade evil spirits, he would be able to smoothly break through to the 5 elements transformation mid-stage. Zhuowen's spirit rose, and he came to another place at the edge of the light source. Then he grabbed another evil spirit that was pacing back and forth at the edge of the light source and dragged it into the light source. This evil spirit was like a live fish caught by a fisherman, screaming and struggling nonstop. With his first experience, Zhuowen could be said to be an experienced veteran. He firmly grabbed the evil spirit's neck and did not let go. Moreover, the god force in his body poured out. In a short while, the second evil spirit was completely refined by him. Next, Zhuowen followed the same pattern, and soon he refined 5 more evil spirits. Just as Zhuowen was about to grab the next evil spirit, he discovered that there were no more evil spirits around the light source. He saw that several hundred meters away from the edge of the light source, there were evil spirits staring at Zhuowen with vigilance. Zhuowen could see the fear and alarm in these evil spirits' eyes. How could a mere human be so terrifying as to eat their companions? Was he still human? After all, these evil spirits were battle-grade evil spirits, and their intelligence was already very high. They naturally saw through the trick and knew that this hateful human was tempting them. They were not idiots, and naturally they would not fall for it again. Zhuowen shook his head helplessly. He also knew that this kind of trick would not work every time. Thus, he took a step out of the light source's range and stepped into the darkness. When the evil spirits that were hiding in the distance saw that Zhuowen actually dared to step into the darkness, their bright eyes emitted a light that could not be ignored. Then, these evil spirits let out terrifying roars and rushed over. In an instant, they rushed in front of Zhuowen, and a fishy smell filled the air. Zhuowen sneered as boundless grand mist god force surged out from his body like an ocean. Then his feet moved in a mysterious way, like a fish swimming in the water, flickering in the surroundings. After dodging the first wave of attacks from these evil spirits, he moved like lightning. His right hand formed a claw and grabbed the evil spirit closest to him. The evil spirit struggled like a fish in water, but Zhuowen's gaze was cold. Vast grand mist god force poured out from his palm, turning into purple gold flames that swiftly refined the evil spirit in his hand. The evil spirit did not last for long. With a miserable cry, it completely turned into a strand of violet gold energy that surged into Zhuowen's body, becoming a part of Zhuowen. Zhuowen's movement technique was infused with the power of the grand word stone. It was already much faster than cultivators of the same level. Coupled with the strange and tricky movement technique, even a peak yin-yang transformation cultivator might not necessarily be faster than him. Zhuowen turned into a strange, purple-colored phantom as he shuttled through the evil spirits. Every time there was a purple flash, Zhuowen would ruthlessly grab an evil spirit in the palm of his hand. He would swallow and spit out powerful god force, completely refining the evil spirit. As the number of evil spirits he refined increased, Zhuo Zheng's aura became more and more powerful, and his refining speed also became faster and faster. After Zhuo, when refined the 15th evil spirit, he felt his entire body warm up. A vast and surging energy filled his limbs and bones, breaking through all the meridians in his body and rushing straight to his Tianling acupoint. Zhuowen's pupils shrank as he suppressed the excitement in his heart. He knew that he had accumulated enough energy and could break through immediately. Roar, roar, roar. In the darkness, when the evil spirits saw that Zhuowen's figure was as fast as a ghost, they learned to be smart. They no longer split up and rushed out. Instead, they surrounded Zhuowen in a circular formation. This hateful human seemed to be able to restrain them. Therefore, they did not dare to fight alone and decided to cooperate to take down this human. Humph! Zhuowen snorted coldly. He clenched his right fist and punched out dozens of times. Every punch was filled with terrifying fist force. The vast grand mist god force turned into a sky full of fist shadows that swept out in all directions. The evil spirit's encirclement was instantly broken by the terrifying fist shadows. Zhuowen took advantage of this opportunity to rush through one of the gaps and leave the evil spirit's encirclement. He did not dare to stay in the encirclement for too long. After all, each of these evil spirits was at the battle realm. Their strength was monstrous and definitely not ordinary. If he stayed in the encirclement for too long, he was afraid that his life would be in danger. Zhuowen leaped a few times and rushed toward the headless statue's light source. However, when Zhuowen was about to enter the light source's range, his eyelids twitched. An extremely ominous feeling rose in his heart. Then, he suddenly changed his direction. With a twist of his waist, he rushed in a circle and rushed into the light source. The moment Zhuowen rushed into the light source, a huge palm that was several feet long swept out from the cliff and fiercely slammed into the path that Zhuowen originally took. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In an instant, countless cracks appeared on the ground at the edge of the light source. Violent tremors spread out in all directions. The surrounding earth quaked, and the mountains swayed. It was very shocking. Zhuowen stared fixedly at the palm, and the hair on his body stood on end. His gaze followed the palm and fell on the cliff. He saw a pair of scarlet eyes light up in the cliff, like a pair of huge blood-red lanterns. This pair of blood-red eyes slowly looked down at Zhuowen coldly and said indifferently, "What a cunning human! You actually dodged my attack." This evil spirit was dozens of feet tall, and its whole body was covered with hard rock-like scales. These scales were almost exactly the same as the rocks on the cliff. It stuck to the cliff as if it was one with the cliff. Zhuowen did not see from the beginning that there was actually an evil spirit hiding on the cliff. Moreover, this evil spirit's aura was extremely vast and terrifying. It was far beyond the battle realm evil spirit. It was probably another battle realm evil spirit. Just now, this evil spirit had been hiding in the cliff. The moment Zhuowen returned to the light source was when it was the most relaxed, and it brazenly attacked. If it were not for Zhuowen's divine sense that was far superior to that of ordinary cultivators, he might have been hit by the palm. Even if he did not die, he would have been seriously injured. The evil spirit on the cliff coldly looked down at Zhuowen and did not continue to attack. Zhuowen knew that although the battle realm evil spirit was powerful, it was still afraid of the light source emitted by the headless statue. After he had no more worries, he no longer paid attention to this evil spirit. Instead, he sat cross-legged next to the statue and began to prepare to break through to the middle stage of the 5 elements transformation stage. In the middle of the night, the aura in Zhuowen's body suddenly turned into a pillar of qi that soared into the sky, and in his body there were strange banging sounds, as if there was an oven that was constantly burning. The surrounding temperature also rose to an extremely terrifying level because of this, and behind Zhuowen, the power of the 5 elements surged out and formed a strange cycle in the void behind him. Chapter 39:05. The 5-element ring behind Zhuowen began to spin faster and faster. As it spun, the volume of the 5-element ring actually doubled in size. On the surface of the five-element ring, there were 5 different colors mixed with purple and gold. The light was overflowing, as if it was going to break through the darkness. Zhuowen suddenly opened his eyes, and the 5-element ring behind him suddenly dissipated. He slowly stood up, and his eyes revealed a look of surprise. I finally broke through to the middle stage of the 5 elements transformation stage. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He could feel that after the breakthrough, his strength had increased by quite a bit. Zhuowen slowly raised his head and looked at the cliff behind him. There was a pair of blood-red eyes there. Zhuowen's gaze burned with a towering will to fight. The owner of the blood-red eyes also noticed the battle intent in Zhuowen's eyes. It slowly narrowed its eyes and said with a little anger, "Puny human, you have guts. How dare you look at me with such eyes? In your eyes, we cultivators are your food. But in my eyes, you all are my food." Zhuowen grinned and said, "Boom, boom, boom." The evil spirit in the cliff let out an angry howl, and its huge body suddenly rushed out of the cliff. The cliff shattered into countless pieces, falling from above and hitting the ground with a dull sound. Many of the double-level evil spirits around the cliff let out sharp screams and immediately fled far away. They trembled as they looked at the enormous evil spirit that came out of the cliff. Zhuowen silently looked at the evil spirit, and only then did he see the specific appearance of this evil spirit. This evil spirit's appearance was like a rock with protruding pieces, and it was dozens of feet tall. Its eyes were incomparably scarlet, and at first glance, it looked like a stone giant. Zhuowen's expression was extremely solemn. This evil spirit's aura was extremely vast, and it was not weaker than the pighead evil spirit last night. If Zhuowen had not cultivated the universal scripture of heaven and earth, he would not have dared to challenge this evil spirit. The fighting level evil spirit was no longer a threat to him, so he planned to challenge the fighting level evil spirit to verify the extent of his current strength. "Puny human, get out of the light source and die." The stone giant looked at the headless statue with fear and did not dare to get too close. He roared at Zhuowen. "Just what I want." Zhuowen smiled. The moment he smiled, he took a step forward, and the surging power of the 5 elements surged out of his body like a vast ocean pouring out in torrents. The surging power of the 5 elements condensed in the void behind him, and it turned into a huge 5-element ring. The 5-element ring spun rapidly, bursting with colorful light that spread out in all directions. A terrifying aura spread out along with the light like a vast ocean. After feeling the terrifying aura, the stone giant's eyes could not help but focus. He said in a low voice, "Your aura. It's not the aura of a normal practitioner, and it's mixed with an aura that I hate very much. Are you from the exorcist family?" Speaking of this, the stone giant's voice was a little unsteady. He obviously did not like people from the exorcist family. Zhuowen sneered and did not intend to answer the stone giant's words. He bounced his legs, and like an arrow, he rushed toward the stone giant. "Humph! Exorcist family? So what? I'll kill one if one comes, and 2 if 2 come. I'll kill a pair." The stone giant's voice was as loud as a bell, and it suddenly spread out. Then he raised his fist, which was as thick as a small hill, and smashed it toward Zhuowen. Whoosh! Whoosh! The violent sound of the wind continued to resound. The surrounding air seemed to be torn into countless pieces. It was an extremely terrifying sight. Zhuowen was not afraid. He grabbed the huge 5-element will behind him and fiercely swung it. Boom! The huge fist force and the 5-element wheel collided, and terrifying energy ripples burst out. These energy ripples were like countless fireworks, bursting and spreading in all directions. In the deep darkness, it was so gorgeous and colorful. Zhuowen let out a muffled groan as he flew backwards and smashed into a cliff behind him. The stone giant, on the other hand, kept retreating, and his body was extremely unstable. Zhuowen came out of the gap between the rocks and laughed with bright eyes. "I thought you were very powerful, but it turns out that you're just so." Zhuowen was quite excited. He jumped up and attacked the stone giant. The 5-element ring had become his weapon, and he kept swinging it and smashing it down. The momentum was terrifying, and the power was monstrous. In his divine power, there was a strong power of the awe-inspiring righteousness, which was a natural restraint against evil spirits. Zhuowen's cultivation was not strong, but relying on the power of the awe-inspiring righteousness. An evil spirit at the cultivator level might not be able to kill him. Bang! 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 Zhuowen was beaten back again and again by the stone giant, and he was almost covered with cuts and bruises. However, Zhuowen did not shrink back because of this. Instead, he became more and more courageous as he fought. Under Zhuowen's constant attacks, the stone giant was beaten back again, and some fine cracks appeared on the surface of its solid stone body. This puny human. The stone giant looked at Zhuowen, who was like a cockroach that could not be killed, and his eyes were filled with shock and anger. This puny human's cultivation was obviously pathetically weak, but he could not kill him in one go. He also knew that this had something to do with the awe-inspiring righteousness in Zhuowen's body. This energy restrained him too much, so he did not dare to use his full strength to deal with this puny human. Boom! The stone giant suddenly threw a punch, and he was shocked to find that the slippery human in front of him did not dodge, and his abdomen was hit by his punch. Uffed! Zhuowen spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely pale, but he grinned at the stone giant. "Your arm is mine." Before the stone giant could react, a blazing purple-gold light gushed out from between Zhuowen's eyebrows. From within the purple-gold light, purple-gold divine swords flew out. These purple-gold divine swords condensed into a giant sword that was dozens of feet long. The sword turned and slashed at the stone giant's right hand. Clang! 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 Countless sparks appeared, and the stone giant's right arm did not last long before it was cut off at the shoulder. The huge arm fell from midair and heavily smashed to the ground, causing the ground to tremble several times. After Zhuowen cut off the rock giant's right arm, he quickly put the arm into his great world. Then, without thinking, he fled into the headless idol's light source. When the stone giant came to his senses, his right arm was already cut off, and Zhuowen had already retreated to the headless idol's side. "Ah, despicable human, you—" The stone giant was furious, and he let out an earth-shattering roar. He rushed toward Zhuowen, who was in the headless idol, as if he had lost his mind. This puny human had cut off his arm, and this was the humiliation of his life. However, when he stepped into the light source, his body began to emit a sizzling sound, and the surface of his body began to vaporize, as if he would be annihilated at any time by the light source. Chapter 3906. He had just taken the rock giant's punch, and his injuries had become extremely serious. He even felt that his internal organs were somewhat ruptured. In his current state, it was really difficult for him to withstand the rock giant's attack. However, when the rock giant was about to reach the headless idol, it quickly retreated and left the range of the light source in an instant. "Despicable human, I will remember you. Don't let me see you in the future, or I will kill you." The rock giant flew away quickly, and its furious voice came from afar. Zhuowen sighed lightly. He slowly sat cross-legged next to the headless idol and began to meditate and recuperate. At the same time, he began to silently refine the arm of the rock giant that he had personally chopped off. After Zhuowen's cultivation had reached the middle stage of the 5 elements transformation, He knew that refining a warrior-level evil spirit would not improve his cultivation so much. Unless it was a peak warrior-level evil spirit, there would still be some benefits to his cultivation. Therefore, he placed his attention on the rock giant. At the same time, he also wanted to verify the extent of his current strength. After another 2 hours, Zhuowen found that the surrounding darkness was gradually thinning. He knew that the night was about to fade away. His injuries were slightly better, but now he looked quite miserable. His body was covered in blood, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His chest was especially obvious. This was the wound caused by the rock giant's punch. It was extremely terrifying. Even if Zhuowen's self-healing ability was very strong, the wound on his chest was not something that could be healed in a short period of time. As expected of a warrior-level evil spirit, I only refined an arm, and it gave me such a surge of energy. Zhuowen stood up. Although his external injuries looked quite terrible, in fact, his injuries were not as serious as they appeared. Furthermore, his cultivation had also improved. What a pity! If I could refine a warrior-level evil spirit, maybe I could break through again and reach the late stage of the 5 elements transformation. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He could not forget the rock giant from last night. He picked up the headless idol again and returned to the temple in the Great Rift Valley. When he returned to the temple, everyone in the temple was shocked. Zhuowen's body was covered in blood, and he looked extremely miserable. It was obvious that he was severely injured. "Senior brother Daowen, what happened to you?" Ziling's beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she hurried forward to ask. Li Xinbing and me, UNC, were also shocked. Zhuowen's performance had exceeded their expectations. His strength was extremely strong. They did not expect Zhuowen to be in such a sorry state while carrying the headless idol. Zhuowen smiled faintly and casually found an excuse to explain the injuries on his body. No one doubted him. "Mate UNC, this is our chance." Lin Xinbing's beautiful eyes flickered. She was truly moved by Mei Yuanxi's suggestion. Zhuowen was indeed powerful, and it would be beneficial for them to have him as their leader. More importantly, they had approached Zhuowen many times to ask him to join forces, but Zhuowen's attitude had always been non-committal. He even ignored them. This made them uncertain about Zhuowen's attitude. Therefore, they did not know when Zhuowen would abandon them. Because of this, the two of them were very wary of Zhuowen. If they were strong enough, they would have killed Zhuowen a long time ago. However, Zhuowen was too strong, and they did not dare to make a move. Now, Zhuowen was severely injured, and his strength was definitely declining. This was the best time for them to make a move. Li Xinbing looked at Ziling, who was sitting beside Zhuowen. She frowned and shook her head. "Senior Mei, if Senior Daowen really wanted to abandon us, he would have chased us out of the temple yesterday. But he didn't do that. Instead, he went his own way. I think he just wants to occupy a spot in the palace. As long as we don't provoke him, he will continue to guard this palace. You know, there are many cultivators stronger than us in this trial. Now, that Senior Daowen is stronger than us, and he did not attack us. He might be our only hope to pass this trial." Mei Yuanxi fell into deep thought. He stared at Zhuowen's back, hesitated for a while, and finally gave up. Li Xinbing was right. Now was not the time for internal strife. They should be in the same boat. So what if they killed Zhuowen? Their strength was simply too weak. If they wanted to pass this trial smoothly, it would still be somewhat difficult. But if they followed Zhuowen, there might be a glimmer of hope. Sitting upright on the praying mat, the corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled into a smile. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi had used their consciousness to communicate, and he did not hear the contents of their conversation. However, He could clearly feel the killing intent released by the two of them. He was waiting. If the two of them made a move against him, he would immediately counterattack and kill both Li Xinbing and Mi Yuanxi. Fortunately, the two of them retracted their killing intent after transmitting their voices. He knew that the two of them had retreated. Of course, to Zhuowen, it was a wise decision for them to retreat. Although he was injured internally, his strength was not affected by much. If these two people really joined hands to attack him, he could kill them with a single slap. For the next 5 days, no other cultivators came to Zhuowen's hall in the Great Rift Valley. Zhuowen did not intend to go to the other temples to steal their headless idols. Every night, he carried the headless idols and rushed into the darkness, frantically refining the evil spirits in the darkness. Ziling, Li Xinbing, and the others were already used to him carrying the headless idols into the darkness. Their main concern was that as the days passed, the darkness became more and more terrifying. There were only 2 headless idols in their temple, and every night, Zhuowen would take away one of the idols. They could feel that the evil spirits in the darkness could break through the light source and start to come into contact with the temple. On the 7th night, a demonic hand swept over and slammed into the temple. The top of the temple was knocked off, and many stones fell from the temple. Chapter 3907. In the dark night, countless evil spirits were running amok, wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. Zhuowen carried the headless idol and returned to the cliff where he had been 5 days ago. "Bastard human, how dare you come here?" Suddenly, a pair of scarlet eyes lit up on the cliff. This pair of scarlet eyes stared coldly at Zhuowen, who was carrying the headless deity statue, not far away from the cliff. Zhuowen raised his head and looked at the rock giant hiding in the cliff. He grinned and said, "I've reached a bottleneck in my cultivation, and I urgently need the energy of a warrior-level evil spirit to break through. I've thought about it, and I don't seem to know any other warrior-level evil spirits in this strange world. You're the only one I'm familiar with. So I've come to find you. Roar." The rock giant was enraged. He let out a furious roar, and his voice spread out for thousands of miles around the cliff. "This human is too hateful. He actually treats me as prey. I'm so angry." Zhuowen stood next to the headless idol with a smile and continued, "Friend, if you're really angry, don't suppress your emotions. Come here, I'm standing right here. You can hit me as much as you want. I won't fight back." The rock giant roared again and again, but soon calmed down. He looked at the headless idol next to Zhuowen with fear. "This human is very cunning. He actually used my anger to lure me to the headless idol. Last time, when I lost my arm, I was so angry that I lost my mind. I suffered a loss from the headless idol. I won't suffer the same loss twice. Trash human, what else can you do besides relying on the headless idol? Do you dare to face me directly?" The rock giant provoked. "Ha! Why wouldn't I dare?" Zhuowen sneered and put down the headless idol. Then he walked step by step to the cliff. After a while, he walked to the edge of the light source and looked up at the rock giant mockingly. The rock giant's scarlet eyes unconsciously shrank. He looked down at Zhuowen and still didn't move. The human in front of him was too cunning. He didn't have the confidence to make him stay, so he still didn't attack. "If you're so capable, why don't you just come to the cliff and stand in the light source? You're still afraid. What's the point?" The rock giant sneered. The rock giant thought that Zhuowen would refuse, but he didn't expect Zhuowen to agree, without even thinking. Then he walked out of the light source and slowly walked to the bottom of the cliff. Zhuowen's figure completely appeared in the darkness. Because the rock giant had released his aura, many of the evil spirits in the surroundings had already fled. Therefore, the surroundings of the cliff were much quieter and more spacious. When Zhuowen stopped and stood at the edge of the cliff, the rock giant let out a wild laugh. Then he suddenly walked out of the cliff. A huge palm, like a small mountain, fell in front of Zhuowen. "Ha ha, foolish human. You actually dare to come before me. Today I will completely destroy you, you scum." The rock giant laughed heartily, his scarlet eyes filled with rage and pleasure. In his eyes, this palm strike was sufficient to completely crush Zhuowen into powder, and it was sufficient to make him die beyond death. Zhuowen sneered. He took a step forward, and his eyes were as calm as water. He also punched out. Terrifying fist force burst out with blazing grand mist divine power. Purple gold energy, like a blazing sun, soared into the sky and slammed into the rock giant's huge palm. Then, the rock giant was shocked to find that his palm force was broken. The terrifying fist, intent, forced him back a few steps, and he leaned against the cliff. Countless rocks fell from the cliff. "Old friend, let me borrow your left arm." The rock giant leaned against the cliff. Before he could react, purple gold light burst out from Zhuowen's body like a god. Like a ghost, he appeared near the rock giant's left arm and grabbed it with both hands. The rock giant roared and swung his left arm with all his might. However, he was shocked to find that Zhuowen's hands were like a tight band. He firmly held his left arm, and the rock giant was unable to move. Then, the rock giant was horrified to find that streaks of purple gold sword intent surged out from between Zhuowen's eyebrows. He remembered that night 5 days ago. This despicable human had also used this move to cut off his right arm. F***CK. Let go of me, you bastard. The rock giant was so scared that his heart was trembling. He quickly swung his left arm, trying to get rid of Zhuowen. Unfortunately, Zhuowen was like a sticky candy clinging to the rock giant's left arm. Terrifying energy exploded from his tiny body, causing the rock giant's movements to be extremely stiff. He was almost frozen on the spot, unable to move at all. This despicable human is stronger than last time. The rock giant was shocked and angry at the same time. A chill rose in his heart, especially when he saw the purple gold light between Zhuowen's eyebrows become more and more intense. He was so horrified that he almost screamed out loud. "Old friend, I've said that your left arm is mine. You'd better stop struggling." Zhuowen sneered. Streaks of soul sword intent burst out and condensed into a huge, terrifying purple gold sword in the air. Then it slashed down from the sky. Crack! The rock giant's left arm was cleanly cut off. The huge rock arm fell to the ground like a small mountain, causing the ground to tremble a few times. Zhuowen landed on the ground and neatly put his left arm into the macro world. Then he quickly escaped into the light source. However, after running a few steps, he found that the rock giant was not fooled and was chasing after him. He immediately looked back in surprise. Then he saw that the rock giant looked like he wanted to cry, but had no tears. Then he ran away. However, the silly big guy was not running toward him. Instead, he was running in the opposite direction. His speed was so fast that Zhuowen was almost speechless. Hey, old friend, don't run so fast. Your left arm is not enough. I still need your legs." Zhuowen shouted as he nimbly carried the headless idol on his shoulder. Then he started running in the direction where the rock giant had fled. This was a genuine elder-level evil spirit. Zhuowen would not let it go so easily. He believed that as long as he refined the entire rock giant, his cultivation would be greatly improved. "Oh my God! This horrible human is chasing after me. What should I do? Mom, Dad, where are you?" The rock giant was scared out of his wits. Seeing that Zhuowen was chasing after him, he almost cried for his mom and dad. His legs, which were still intact, were running at the fastest speed he had ever run in his life. If he did not run faster, his legs would be cut off by this cruel human. He was completely afraid of this abominable human. Chapter 39:08. Old friend, you're tall and strong, but your movements are quite nimble. Your legs are also very fast. They're indeed a pair of good legs. Just as the rock giant was still in a daze, a teasing voice sounded in his ears. Then he saw Zhuowen's tiny figure appear on his shoulder without him noticing. Moreover, this guy was carrying the headless idol in his hand. The blazing light shone on his body, causing thick green smoke to rise from his body. Under the influence of the light source, he suddenly felt a sense of weakness in his body, and his speed also slowed down a little. Then a sword light flashed in front of his eyes. Then he lost all feeling in his legs, and his body sank quickly. Plop! He immediately fell flat on his face. His cheeks hit the ground, and his buttocks stuck up high. Then he saw the human jump down from his shoulder and walk behind him. His eyes widened in anger as he saw that the human was sizing up his severed legs not far away from him. You pervert! The rock giant wanted to cry, but had no tears. He even wanted to die. He was a warrior-level evil spirit, but his limbs were severed by this despicable human. He couldn't even get up. This was definitely the most humiliating moment of his life. After Zhuowen retracted his huge legs, he slowly walked up to the rock giant. Old friend, do you want to die? Above Zhuowen's head floated a purple gold sword that was several hundred feet long. He stood in the air and looked down at the stone giant before him, revealing an innocent smile. The rock giant trembled and shook his head like a rattle drum. What a joke! He had cultivated step by step for countless years to reach the warrior level. His cultivation in this life was extremely high. How could he want to die like this? Zhuowen's smile became even more brilliant. Seeing Zhuowen's brilliant smile, the rock giant trembled and felt that something was wrong. He had an extremely bad feeling. I don't want to die. Although the rock giant felt uneasy, he still spoke his mind honestly. Zhuowen's smile became even more brilliant. He said, It's good that you don't want to die. How about this? You can be considered a tyrant in this area. If you can summon a large number of evil spirits for me, I can spare your life. The rock giant said in a low, muffled voice, I'm only a warrior-level evil spirit. I can only summon evil spirits below the warrior level. Zhuowen smiled and said, It's fine, just summon as many as you want. All right, I'm quite picky. You can summon peak warrior-level evil spirits. The rock giant looked fearfully at the purple gold sword floating above Zhuowen's head. He swallowed his saliva and nodded obediently and agreed to follow Zhuowen's request. Seeing the rock giant agree, Zhuowen's smile became even more amiable. Then he sat cross-legged beside the headless idol and took out the left arm and a pair of legs of the rock giant. In front of the rock giant, boundless grand mist god force rushed out from his body and started refining the rock giant's body. The rock giant looked at his 4 limbs being refined by Zhuowen into pure energy and turned into Zhuowen's own energy. The rock giant's eyelids twitched, and his heart was filled with sorrow. In any case, he was still a cultivator-level evil spirit. In the dark world of this small world, he could be considered an overlord. However, his limbs had been chopped off by a mere human and refined. Moreover, it had been done right under his nose. Among the countless warrior-level evil spirits, he was the only one. Half an hour later, Zhuowen completely refined the rock giant's left arm and legs. The energy in his body was abundant, but he was still a little short of a breakthrough. Zhuowen looked greedily at the rock giant. He licked his lips and asked, Peak warrior-level evil spirits, you still haven't summoned them? Feeling Zhuowen's burning gaze, the rock giant cursed in his heart. After this guy refined his 4 limbs, is he eyeing his remaining body? However, the rock giant answered Zhuowen cautiously, "They have been summoned. They are not far from here, but the headless statue's light source is too bright, so they don't dare to come close." Zhuowen resisted the urge to attack the rock giant and put away the headless statue. This rock giant was very useful to him, so he didn't plan to kill him. Once again, the surroundings fell into darkness. Then, Zhuowen noticed several terrifying black shadows rushing out from the surrounding rocks. There were close to 100 of these black shadows, and all of them were peak warrior-level evil spirits. These evil spirits stared greedily at Zhuowen. If it weren't for the rock giant suppressing them with his momentum, they would have already rushed up to Zhuowen and devoured him. "Well done." Zhuowen nodded his head in satisfaction. He then charged into the group of evil spirits and attacked them with his hands and feet. Majestic, grand mist godforce flowed out from his body like a long river and revolved around him. Every time he reached the evil spirits, this long river seemed to have gained intelligence, and it would wrap around the evil spirits and refine them. These evil spirits were restless, but under the pressure of the giant stone man, they did not dare to move. Therefore, Zhuowen was able to easily capture and refine the evil spirits as if they were toys in his hands. When Zhuowen finished refining the last evil spirit, he suddenly looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. His roar was filled with carefreeness. After refining close to 100 peak warrior-level evil spirits, Huang Xiaolong's accumulation of energy was finally enough, and he successfully broke through to the next realm. Muffled, thunderous sounds could be heard coming from his body. They were continuous and unending, and they were getting louder and louder. Rumble! A heavy sound that seemed to have been suppressed for a long time broke out from Zhuowen's body, and Zhuowen's cultivation rose steadily, breaking through the shackles and climbing to a new realm. The 5 elements ring appeared behind him again. The 5 elements ring's volume expanded by several times, and it spun rapidly. The 5 elements ring revealed 5 different colors and shot out in all directions. He had successfully advanced to the late 5 elements transformation stage, and his strength had almost doubled. The rock giant looked at the huge 5 elements ring floating behind him, and his aura spread out like the sea, and he was even more shocked. If he wasn't wrong, this guy's cultivation was only at the late 5 elements transformation stage, but his aura was so vast that it far exceeded that of a 5 elements transformation stage cultivator. There were even many yin-yang transformation stage cultivators whose auras were not as strong as this young man in front of him. Motherf Asterisker, I've really kicked an iron plate this time. This guy is simply a monster. Not only is his exorcism power terrifying, but his strength is also abnormally terrifying. Chapter 3909. Zhuowen's eyes sparkled. The huge 5-element ring turned into a 5-colored stream and flowed back into Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen's aura was many times stronger than before. It was like a huge mountain, lofty and unapproachable. Zhuowen looked at the sky and found that the surrounding darkness was gradually dispersing. He knew that dawn was coming. "Human, I have done what you said. You should let me go now, right?" The rock giant looked at Zhuowen with fear and asked carefully. He was still worried that Zhuowen would go back on his words. After all, his current state was too bad. If Zhuowen wanted to kill him, he would not be able to resist. "Don't worry. I promised that I would not kill you. I will definitely not attack you," Zhuowen said with a smile. The rock giant became more and more vigilant. Every time this human smiled like that, it would not be good for him. "Then you should let me go, right?" the rock giant said as he slowly floated up. He stared at Zhuowen, and tentatively took a few steps back. However, the moment he took a step back, a purple gold divine sword suddenly swept over and pierced his body. The rock giant cried out in pain. The rock giant was shocked and angry at the same time as he shouted in a deep voice, "I said that I would not kill you, but I did not say that I would let you go." Zhuowen's smile became more and more brilliant. The rock giant trembled. It was this kind of smile. The last time this human showed such a brilliant smile, his 4 limbs had been cut off by him. "You don't have to be so nervous. For the next 20 days, you will stay in my macro world. There are some things that I need to ask you. After 20 days have passed, I will immediately release you," Zhuowen said calmly. The rock giant secretly complained. This guy did not intend to let him go so easily. However, the rock giant was glad that the human had only imprisoned him for 20 days and not for his entire life. Otherwise, he would rather die than submit to the rock giant. "What is your name?" Zhuowen asked casually. "My name is Allah." The rock giant had already accepted his fate and was very cooperative. Zhuowen nodded and asked, "Allah, you're a human-level evil spirit after all. You should be familiar with the distribution of evil spirits in this small world, right?" Allah looked at Zhuowen with vigilance and asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" Zhuowen grinned, revealing an extremely bright smile, and said, "I just want to ask you to do me a small favor. Tell me the specific location of some warrior-level evil spirits. If you do it well, I can actually help you restore your limbs. How about it?" Allah looked at Zhuowen in amazement. He did not expect that this human in front of him could actually help him restore his limbs. He could not help but feel a little moved. Warrior-level evil spirits had a clear sense of territory. Many warrior-level evil spirits would often invade the territories of other warrior-level evil spirits in order to expand their territories. Allah had been invaded by many other cultivator-level evil spirits and had a lot of grudges with them. If he could lead this kid to his enemies, wouldn't that be great? Thinking of this, Allah revealed a rather wretched smile and readily agreed. "It's going to be daybreak soon. You can enter my big world first," Zhuowen said to Allah as he looked at the sky that was gradually turning white. Allah thought for a moment and did not refuse. He was taken into Zhuowen's big world. When the sky was completely bright, Zhuowen carried the headless idol back to the palace in the Great Rift Valley. However, when he returned to the palace, he found that there were many cracks on the surface of the palace, as if it had been destroyed by some kind of power. Li Xinbing, Mei Yuanxi, and the others were outside the palace, as if they were waiting for someone. When Zhuowen returned, they all gathered around him. "What happened?" Zhuowen pointed at the cracks on the palace and asked in astonishment. Li Xinbing smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Daowen, you don't know this, but the darkness in this small world is getting more and more terrifying. The evil spirits that appear are also getting stronger and stronger. Yesterday, one of the evil spirits broke through the light and attacked the palace. If it wasn't for the headless idols suddenly emitting an even brighter light, we might have died last night." Mei Yuanxi nodded in agreement. Zhuowen looked at Ziling and saw her nod. He knew that Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were telling the truth. "Are you saying that you want me to hand over the headless idol in my hands?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi's hearts skipped a beat. They quickly waved their hands and refused. "Brother Daowen, you've misunderstood. We don't mean that. What we mean is that we should take the initiative to snatch the headless idol." Zhuowen thought for a moment. Although he did not stay in the palace at night, Ziling was still there. If the palace was breached, Ziling would die with it. Although Zhuowen knew that Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were using him, he really did not have a better way to ensure Ziling's safety. How many palaces are left? Zhuowen asked. Li Xinbing quickly said, "There are about 60 palaces left. We've already investigated them. The closest palace to us is about 10,000 miles northwest of the Great Rift Valley. The ones occupying that palace are from Eternal Loyalty State. The strongest among them is called Lin Hu. He's already at the pinnacle of the 5 elements transformation state." Zhuowen gave Li Xinbing a deep look. This woman's investigation was really thorough. It seemed that she had long been interested in that palace. Zhuowen did not pursue the matter. He nodded and said, "Li Xinbing, Mei Yuanxi, the two of you can come with me." Li Xinbing frowned, but when she thought of Zhuowen's strength, a look of relief appeared on her face. The short youth from before was also at the pinnacle of the 5 elements transformation state, but he was easily defeated by Zhuowen. In her opinion, Zhuowen's strength should be close to the early stage of the yin-yang transformation state. It should be enough to take down Lin Hu. About an hour later, the 3 of them arrived at a place about 10,000 miles northwest of the Great Rift Valley. It was a lush black forest. The Black Forest was extremely large. It was at least 1,000,000 miles wide. In the middle of the Black Forest stood a palace. "Is that the palace?" Zhuowen pointed at the palace in the middle of the forest and asked Li Xinbing. "Yes, let's go." Li Xinbing nodded. However, Zhuowen stopped Li Xinbing. The latter looked at Zhuowen suspiciously. "Someone's coming." Zhuowen looked at the horizon. There was a stream of light coming at them at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, the stream of light appeared above the Black Forest. Only then did the 3 of them see that it was a huge divine ship in front of them. This divine ship landed in the open space in front of the temple in the forest with familiarity, and a group of people walked down from it. When Zhuowen saw the leader of the group, his eyes narrowed and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He happened to know this group of people. It was Ku Xinjue and the others from the Wukong state. Chapter 39:10. Zhuowen and the other 2 quietly entered the Black Forest. Not long after, they arrived at the center of the Black Forest. They hid behind the bushes and retracted their auras. Through the gaps in the bushes, they looked at the palace in front of them. At this moment, the 2 sides were clearly in a dispute. The dignified youth was naturally the leader of this palace, Lin Hu. He looked at Kuxinjue with an unfriendly expression and said, "This brother must be Kuxinjue from the Wukong state. I am Lin Hu from the Yongzhong state. May I know why you are here?" Kuxinjue grinned and said, "Brother Lin, are you joking? Can't you guess why we're here?" Li Miao, who was standing beside Kuxinjue, said impatiently, "Lin Hu, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the palace, and we won't harm a single hair on your head." Lin Hu's expression changed slightly as he looked coldly at Li Miao. Just as he was about to speak, Li Miao suddenly released a powerful aura. Lin Hu was silent. Li Miao's aura was extremely vast and was not any weaker than his. He also knew that Li Miao was at the peak of the 5 elements transformation stage like him. And from Li Miao's performance standing behind Kuxinjue, it could be seen that Li Miao was definitely not the strongest in this group. The strongest should be Kuxinjue. He guessed that Kuxinjue was at least at the yin-yang transformation stage. This kind of lineup was much stronger than theirs. Lin, who also knew that if they continued to struggle, they would definitely be wiped out by Kuxinjue's group. Of course, if Brother Ling Hu knows what's good for you, and you submit to me and become our vassal, then maybe we can accept you as one of our team members. Kuxinjue suddenly said. Lin, whose cultivation was not weak and was not inferior to Li Miao and Lu Hong. This was a talent, and Kuxinjue did not want to let him go. Li Miao whispered to Kuxinjue, "Senior Ku, the space in each palace is limited, and we're already full. How are we going to recruit Lin, who? Ku Xinjue glanced at Su Rong and the other two and said calmly, I said before that my team does not need trash. It's time to clear out some trash and let Brother Lin, who join us. Hearing this, Li Miao instantly understood and looked at Su Rong's group of three with ill intentions. Su Rong and the other two's faces were deathly pale. Ku Xinjue's voice didn't avoid them, so the three of them clearly heard the conversation between Ku Xinjue and Li Miao. Su Rong forced a smile and said, Senior Brother Li Miao, you guys are joking, right? We are all cultivators of the Wukong State region. We should help each other out. Helping each other? The three of you have such trashy cultivation. What ability do you have to help us? You're just three burdens in our team. Su Rong and the other two turned even paler. They lowered their heads and remained silent. Li Miao was right. Their strength was too weak. They had no right to speak in this group. Ku Xinjue did not even look at Su Rong and the other two as he looked towards Lin, who, and said, Our team still has 4 vacancies. If Brother Lin, who agrees to join us, we do not mind helping you pass this trial. Lin, whose eyes flickered, revealing a look of interest. He looked at his companions behind him and gritted his teeth. I still have a few friends. Can you? Ku Xinjue shook his head and said, Brother Lin, who, our team doesn't have many vacancies. Accepting you is already my biggest concession. Other than you, I won't accept anyone else. Lin, who was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, I'll join your team. As he spoke, Lin, who walked straight behind Ku Xinjue and calmly looked at his eternal loyalty state companions who didn't know what to do. All of you scram. Otherwise, I'll deal with you. Ku Xinjue said coldly to the other eternal loyalty state cultivators. Everyone from eternal loyalty state revealed a look of anger, but feeling the terrifying aura released from Ku Xinjue's body, they dared to be angry, but did not dare to say anything. Helpless, they could only leave this place. The 3 of you are still not scramming. Ku Xinjue saw that Su Rong and the other 2 actually didn't leave. His gaze turned cold, and his tone became very impolite. Su Rong and the other 2's faces turned pale. Su Rong said unwillingly, Senior Brother Ku, please take us with you. After all, we are all cultivators of the Wukong State. Don't worry, we will definitely not take up any space. We just need to leave a little space in the corner. The 3 of us can squeeze in. We won't give you any space. We won't trouble you. Ku Xinjue didn't say anything else, but gave Li Miao a look. Li Miao grinned. He stepped in front of Su Rong, grabbed him by the collar, and then ruthlessly threw him out. Su Rong crashed into many thick trees before falling to the ground, creating a huge crater. He spat out a mouthful of blood and violently twitched on the ground. The other 2 people retreated and looked at Li Miao in horror. Li Miao, back then you told me that if we left Dao, won, and joined your team, you would guarantee that we would pass this trial. Could it be that your words were all nonsense? Su Rong struggled to stand up and said, angrily. Li Miao grinned and said, You really are an idiot. This was just my plan to sow discord. I just wanted to let Dao Wen have a taste of being betrayed by everyone. Trash like you, if it wasn't for revenge on Dao Wen, do you think I would bother to rope you in? I have to say, you don't even have the self-awareness of being trash. Su Rong's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have firmly followed Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen's strength was not as good as Ku Xinjue's, and there was a high possibility that he would die in the trial. However, Zhuowen at least treated them as companions, and not like Ku Xinjue and Li Miao, who only treated them as clowns that could be thrown away and humiliated at any time. The other 2 quickly ran to Su Rong's side and helped him up. They advised, Senior Brother Su, let's go. Su Rong swallowed a few mouthfuls of bloody phlegm, looked at Li Miao with resentment and planned to leave with the other two. Trash, you dare to glare at me? I think you don't want to live anymore. Don't even think about leaving today. Hurry up and die here. Li Miao's eyes revealed an ominous glint. He actually did not plan to let Su Rong and the other two go. Like a wild beast, he charged towards Su Rong and the other two. Li Miao, you, Su Rong, and the other two were shocked. Ku Xinjue had clearly planned to let them go, but Li Miao actually wanted to kill them. Wasn't this too much? The instant Li Miao was about to charge in front of Su Rong and the other two figures suddenly rushed out from the bushes and blocked Li Miao's path. Boom, boom, boom. The three of them collided, and terrifying energy ripples erupted. Li Miao frowned and couldn't help but retreat a few steps. As for the two figures, they retreated more than 10 steps before stabilizing themselves. Who are the two of you? Li Miao couldn't help but frown when he saw that it was a man and a woman who blocked him. Moreover, they were both in the late stage of the 5 elements transformation stage. Chapter 39:11. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi retreated to a spot not too far away from Su Rong and the other two. Li Miao was even stronger than the short youth from before. They had only exchanged a single blow, and they had already suffered minor injuries. Thank you for saving me, fellow Taoists. Su Rong forced himself to bow to Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi. His eyes were filled with gratitude. Li Xinbing said expressionlessly, "We were also entrusted by someone. Otherwise, we wouldn't have taken such a huge risk to save the three of you." Su Rong was puzzled. He didn't know who the two of them had entrusted to save them. He remembered that he didn't know anyone at the late stage of the 5 elements transformation stage. Ku Xinjue furrowed his brows as he looked at Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi. His eyes lit up as he said, "My two friends, your strength is not bad. If you are willing to join my team, I can help you pass this test." As he spoke, Ku Xinjue walked in front of Li Miao. A terrifying aura erupted from him as black and white energy surged out from his body. They transformed into a huge yin-yang diagram that rotated above his head. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were shocked. Their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. They didn't expect that the leader of this team would be a yin-yang transformation stage expert. It was no wonder that Li Miao, a pinnacle 5 elements transformation stage expert, would listen to this youth. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi looked at each other with worry. They doubted that Zhuowen would be a match for Ku Xinjue. Ku Xinjue sensed Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi's nervousness, and a smug smile appeared on his face as he continued, "I'm sure the two of you have seen through my cultivation. With my cultivation, it shouldn't be difficult for me to bring you through this trial." Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were both tempted by the offer. Although there were many geniuses participating in this test, there were very few who had reached the yin-yang transformation stage and above. They were known as the seeded contestants and would definitely pass the test. If they joined Ku Xinjue's team, the chances of them passing the test were very high. Behind the bushes, Zhuowen silently looked at the hesitant Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi. His lips curled into a sneer. He was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he waited for Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi to make a decision. If they chose him in the end, Zhuowen would treat them as true companions and help them pass this trial. Of course, if they chose Ku Xinjue, Zhuowen would not show any mercy. After a moment of hesitation, Mei Yuanxi suddenly walked towards Ku Xinjue. "Senior Marshal Brother, my name is Mei Yuanxi, and I come from the Elimination region. May I know Senior Brother's name?" Mei Yuanxi approached Ku Xinjue with a fawning smile. Ku Xinjue patted Mei Yuanxi's shoulder and laughed. "Good. Brother Mei, you've made the right choice. This choice will allow you to pass this trial. I'm Ke Xinjue from Wukong State. You can just call me Senior Brother Ke. Mei Yuanxi was shocked. His eyes flickered as he said subconsciously, I didn't expect Senior Brother Ku to be from Wukong State as well. Ke Xinjue's eyes flashed coldly as he asked in surprise, could it be that Junior Martial Brother Me has met other cultivators from Wukong State? Mei Yuanxi nodded and explained the situation of Zhuowen and Ziling. He also pointed out that Zhuowen was hiding behind the bushes. This Daowen seems to be quite capable. He actually managed to snatch a palace from you. Ke Xinjue's gaze fell on the bushes as he said this. He sneered, Daowen, come out and face your death. How long are you going to be a coward? Li Miao and Lu Hong looked at the bushes with unfriendly gazes. Su Rong and the other two were pleasantly surprised. They knew that Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were Zhuowen's companions. They guessed that Zhuowen was planning to save them. However, when they thought of how strong Ke Xinjue and the others were, they were extremely worried. They felt that Zhuowen was not a match for Ke Xinjue and the others. A rustling sound came from the bushes. Then, a figure slowly walked out from the bushes. When Li Miao saw the figure, his lips curled into a cruel smile. Daowen, it really is you. You only know how to hide your head and tail. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. He did not even look at Li Miao. Instead, he looked at Li Xinbing, who was still hesitating. Junior Martial Sister Li, it's your turn to make the decision. Do you plan to join Ke Xinjue or stay in my team? Zhuowen said indifferently. Li Xinbing bit down on her lower lip. She looked at Zhuowen's calm eyes and suddenly thought of Zhuowen's previous actions. She gritted her teeth and silently walked to Zhuowen's side. Ke Xinjue and the others were surprised. They did not expect Li Xinbing to choose Zhuowen. Was she blind? Mei Yuanxi was also in disbelief. He quickly advised, Junior Martial Sister Li, Daowen is not a good person. No matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than a yin-yang transformation stage cultivator? Moreover, Senior Martial Brother Ke's team is so strong. Li Xinbing shook her head. Senior Martial Brother Mei, you saw what Ke Xinjue did. He can abandon his companions as he pleases. If I'm useless to him, maybe he'll abandon me halfway through the journey. Besides, other than me, I have my own companions. I will not abandon my companions and leave alone. Ke Xinjue's face suddenly became gloomy. Li Xinbing's words just happened to poke at his sore spot, and he was very angry. Humph, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us for killing you too. Ke Xinjue snorted and looked at Li Miao. Li Miao understood and strode towards Zhuowen. The aura around him became more and more terrifying. Mei Yuanxi's eyes flashed. He wanted to remind Ke Xinjue that Zhuowen was very strong. He had once killed a 5 elements transformation stage cultivator. Li Miao might not be able to deal with Zhuowen. However, Ke Xinjue waved his hand and interrupted Mei Yuanxi. Instead, he stared coldly at Zhuowen. He wanted to see Zhuowen being torn to shreds by Li Miao with his own eyes. Die, you piece of trash. Li Miao laughed and stepped in front of Zhuowen. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Zhuowen's face. A huge 5 elements ring appeared behind Li Miao. The 5 elements ring flowed with the terrifying power of the 5 elements, causing the power of his punch to become even more terrifying. Zhuowen slowly stood where he was and watched as the fist came closer and closer. His eyes were filled with ridicule. Chapter 39:12. How is this possible? How can there be such a huge 5-element ring? Li Miao's pupils constricted as he looked at the huge 5-element ring behind Zhuowen in disbelief. Compared to Zhuowen's 5-element ring, Li Miao's 5-element ring paled in comparison. Then Li Miao saw Zhuowen casually raise his hand and easily pinch his fist. Immediately after, Li Miao saw in disbelief that his right fist was bent at an unbelievable angle towards his shoulder. His right hand was easily broken by Zhuowen. Everything happened too quickly. Li Miao didn't even feel any pain before his arm was twisted. Then Zhuowen's left fist, which had been accumulating power, came crashing down and landed on Li Miao's face. This punch seemed casual, but the power was too terrifying. Li Miao's face was smashed inwards, and his flesh and blood were badly mangled. Bang! Li Miao fell at Zhuowen's feet. His whole body twitched, and blood flowed out. He was even disfigured. Li Miao, you've been in this small world for so long, but you haven't improved at all. You're too trashy. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. He raised his foot and stomped on Li Miao's chest. The latter groaned and couldn't even speak. Everyone fell into a short silence at this moment. After the silence, there was an uncontrollable uproar. Ku Xinjue's pupils constricted. He looked at this scene with some shock, especially at the huge 5-element ring behind Zhuowen. He actually felt a sense of oppression from the 5-element ring. He was at yin-yang change powerhouse, but a mere 5-element ring gave him such a feeling. It was clear how terrifying the 5-element ring was. Senior brother! Lu Hong cried out loudly as her jade feet tapped lightly on the ground, and she flashed towards Zhuowen like a vigorous leopard. Lu Hong's movement technique was quite impressive. The moment she rushed over, she split into 100 figures. It was difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Zhuowen continued to casually throw out a punch. This punch actually transformed into 100 fist shadows, and every single one of them was terrifying as if they were solid. Bang! Lu Hong let out a muffled groan as she was struck by a fist shadow. She flew out and crashed into a tree behind her. Li Xinbing's eyes were filled with shock. She realized that Zhuowen was even stronger than before. He could easily take care of a cultivator at the pinnacle of the 5 elements change stage. This was much more casual than when Zhuowen had killed the short youth. She knew that this was because Zhuowen had become stronger again. In his hands, those at the peak of the 5 elements transformation stage were nothing more than clowns, unable to withstand a single blow. Mi Yuanzi was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped to the ground. This was a little too much. How could this Zhuowen be so much stronger than before? Thinking of this, Mi Yuanzi couldn't help but glance at Ku Xinjue. He was now a little worried whether Ku Xinjue could kill this Zhuowen, and the ones who were the most shocked were none other than Su Rong Trio. Originally, they were in Zhuowen's team. Later on, they were bewitched by Li Miao and joined Ku Xinjue's team. At that time, they didn't expect Zhuowen to be so strong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left Zhuowen's team. Zhuowen's expression was cold. His right hand formed into a claw and grabbed Li Miao's 5 elements ring. Then he exerted force with his right claw, and a terrifying force spread out. Countless cracks appeared on the 5 elements ring. Finally, under everyone's shocked gazes, the 5 elements ring shattered into dust. Once the 5 elements ring shattered, Li Miao fell to the ground and rolled around in pain. He let out a heart-wrenching scream. His cultivation was completely destroyed at this moment. From this moment onward, he would be a complete cripple. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts when they heard Li Miao's miserable scream. Not only was Zhuowen's strength terrifying, but his attacks were also extremely vicious. Ku Xinjue, you sent trash like this to kill me. Aren't you underestimating me a little? Zhuowen mocked as he kicked Li Miao to Ku Xinjue. Ku Xinjue didn't even look at the screaming Li Miao lying at his feet. Instead, he stared at Zhuowen and said, I really misjudged you. I didn't expect your cultivation to progress so quickly. You've already reached the late stage of the 5 elements transformation. No wonder you're so arrogant. But do you think that just because you defeated Li Miao, you're my opponent? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Zhuowen laughed and shook his head. Kuxinjue, in my eyes, you're nothing. Or rather, in my eyes, everyone in this trial is nothing. I don't care about them. Zhuowen wasn't lying. Although his cultivation wasn't high, he was terrifyingly powerful. Moreover, he had already fought with deity domain transformation and fiend god transformation powerhouses. His vision was much higher than all of the geniuses in this trial. In Zhuowen's eyes, no one in this trial could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He didn't care about Kuxinjue from the very beginning. Kuxinjue saw the disdain in Zhuowen's eyes, and his heart burned with anger. What right did this trash have to look down on him? Humph. It seems like you don't know how terrifying a yin-yang transformation cultivator is. Today, I'll show you how strong a yin-yang transformation cultivator is, and how weak you are. Kuxinjue was so angry that he laughed. He slowly walked forward, and the yin-yang energy in his body surged out, forming a huge yin-yang diagram above his head. The yin-yang diagram rotated, surging with a mysterious and domineering energy. It seemed to contain an endless amount of Taoist energy. It had to be said that Kuxinjue was indeed an early yin-yang transformation cultivator. He was many times stronger than Li Miao. After all, there was a huge gap between the yin-yang transformation and the 5 elements transformation. Crossing that gap would result in an earth-shattering transformation. To put it bluntly, Kuxinjue could easily defeat Li Miao. The moment Kuxinjue unleashed his yin-yang transformation power, the surrounding crowd involuntarily retreated. This was a battle between yin-yang transformation cultivators. If they were too close, they could easily be caught in the crossfire and be finished. Lu Hong also retreated with the half-dead Li Miao. She glared at Zhuowen with hatred. She couldn't wait for Kuxinjue to kill that bastard Zhuowen. Junior sister Li, step back. I'll take care of this guy soon. Zhuowen said to Li Xinbing. Li Xinbing's beautiful eyes were strange. She looked at Kuxinjue and opened her mouth, but didn't say anything in the end. She also felt that Zhuowen was bragging. Kuxinjue was a yin-yang transformation cultivator. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, he couldn't easily take care of him. However, she was smart enough to know that she didn't need to say anything. She only needed to watch from the side. After all, she couldn't interfere in this battle. Take care of me soon? Chapter 39:13. Dao Wen, in my eyes, you are already an unforgivable sinner. Today, I want you to die in the most miserable way in my hands. This is your punishment for offending me. Kuxinjue was like a deity descending from the heavens as he strode towards Zhuowen. The black and white river formed by the power of yin and yang revolved around him like a giant black and white snake. The faces of the crowd, who had originally retreated, changed slightly when they felt the vast and terrifying aura that Kuxinjue had released. They couldn't help but take a few more steps back before looking at Kuxinjue, who was like a god, with a serious expression. Will Senior Brother Dao Wen be his match? Li Xinbing stopped on a tree branch, her beautiful eyes filled with worry. Mate Unc heaved a sigh of relief. Kuxinjue was much stronger than he had imagined. It seemed that Kuxinjue would definitely win this battle against Zhuowen. Zhuowen shook his head and didn't say anything. Instead, he swung the terrifyingly huge 5-element ring behind him and charged towards Kuxinjue. When he arrived in front of Kuxinjue, the 5-element ring in his hand smashed towards Kuxinjue with a mighty aura. Kuxinjue sneered. The yin and yang river around him suddenly swept out and blocked the five-element ring. Bang, bang, bang. The power of the five elements and the power of yin and yang collided, creating a terrifying energy ripple. A majestic mushroom cloud even appeared in the sky above the two of them. However, what shocked Kashinjua was that the five-element ring actually smashed a hole in the yin and yang river. Moreover, through this hole, the five-element ring suddenly rushed in and smashed towards Kashinjua. Kashinjua's gaze turned solemn. He understood that Zhuowen wasn't an ordinary person. His strength was somewhat shocking, so he didn't dare to be careless. Under Kashinjua's control, the yin and yang river suddenly shrank in front of him and formed a black and white shield. Bang, bang, bang. The five-element ring smashed into the black and white shield, creating a thunderous sound that reverberated in the air. The sound lingered in the air and lingered in the air. Zhuowen and Kashinjua each used their strongest superpowers and fought in the dark forest. Terrifying energy ripples erupted from the battle, causing the towering trees in the forest to collapse. So strong. Is this Tao when really at the five elements transformation stage? Li Miao and Lu Hong were both dumbfounded. They never thought that a mere late-stage five elements transformation cultivator would be able to hold his own against an early-stage yin-yang transformation cultivator. This was simply inconceivable. Li Xinbing was quite excited. With Zhuowen's terrifying battle prowess, in her opinion, there was a high chance that he would be able to lead them through this trial. I didn't expect the difference between the yin-yang transformation and the five elements transformation to be so huge. Zhuowen swung the five-element ring in his hand again and again. Seeing Kashinjua block it time and time again, he couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. Ever since he reached the late stage of the five elements transformation stage, he was well aware of just how strong he was. A peak five elements transformation stage cultivator was nothing but trash in his eyes. He even believed that he could easily crush a yin-yang transformation cultivator. But now, it seemed that he had been too optimistic. Without using any trump cards, he could only suppress an early-stage yin-yang change realm cultivator with the power of his cultivation. If Kashinjua were to hear this, he would definitely vomit blood from anger. A late-stage five elements transformation cultivator suppressing an early-stage yin-yang change realm cultivator was already extremely impressive. This was something that only a true monstrous genius could do. Kashinjua was trying his best to mobilize the yin and yang energy in his body, unleashing the strongest power he had in his life. However, he was still unable to break through Zhuowen's attacks. Instead, he was constantly being suppressed and beaten. It was quite sad. Kashinjua knew that if this continued, he would be defeated in less than 100 rounds. He couldn't allow this to happen. He had to kill this Tao when to avenge his humiliation. Thinking of this, Kashinjua took out an ancient bronze cauldron. Then he formed a palm with his right hand and imbued it with the power of yin-yang. He viciously struck the cauldron. Dong! The cauldron emitted a terrifying sound wave. This sound wave layered on top of each other, forming a ring of ripples that quickly blasted towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen knew that something was wrong. He immediately placed the five elements ring in front of him. The ring-shaped sound wave arrived in the blink of an eye and blasted onto the five-element ring. After that, Zhuowen was shocked to discover that traces of cracks had actually appeared on the surface of the five-element ring. On the other hand, he was affected by the aftershock and fell to the ground with a muffled groan. Another terrifying sound wave swept over with an unstoppable momentum and instantly landed in front of Zhuowen. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He used his movement technique and barely dodged the sound wave attack. Only then did he have time to take a closer look at the bronze cauldron beside Ku Shinjue. This bronze cauldron was as tall as two people. Its surface was engraved with many dense and complicated patterns. It looked mysterious and profound. Astral weapon fragment. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. He recognized that this bronze cauldron wasn't a heaven-breaking divine artifact, but an astral weapon fragment. The spectators were also shocked. They didn't expect Ku Shinjue to have an astral weapon fragment. Moreover, this astral weapon fragment's grade wasn't low. It was powerful enough to kill an ordinary yin-yang transformation realm cultivator. As expected of the Hong martial divine sect's most outstanding disciple, this astral weapon fragment must have been bestowed to Ku Shinjue by Shi Shunhong to increase his chances of passing the trial. Li Miao's eyes flickered as he looked at the bronze cauldron. He couldn't help but sigh in envy. Lu Hong supported Li Miao. She was clear that with Ku Shinjue's strength and this astral weapon fragment, even a mid-stage yin-yang transformation realm cultivator wouldn't be his match. Ku Shinjue would definitely be able to lead them through this trial. Dawen, why are you running? Weren't you having a good time just now? Why are you running around like a stray dog now? Ku Shinjue bombarded the bronze cauldron over and over again. The sound waves emitted from the cauldron became more and more terrifying. Every time he bombarded a spot, he would be able to turn a few thousand miles into a bottomless abyss. The spectators had already retreated from the dark forest. They looked at the trees that were gradually being destroyed, and their eyelids twitched. This Ku Shinjue's astral weapon was too terrifying. Its destructive power was actually so strong. It's just a rank 3 astral weapon. Ku Shinjue, is it worth it for you to be so proud with this astral weapon? Zhuowen mocked. Ku Shinjue was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage. He couldn't stand Zhuowen's mocking expression. This was a serious blow to his self-esteem. Humph, a rank 3 astral weapon is enough to kill you. Ku Shinjue snorted coldly and began to continuously bombard the bronze cauldron without any regard for his life. Instantly, a distant sound resounded throughout the world. Waves of dense sound waves swept over, forming an incomparably huge sound wave dragon. Chapter 39:14. A purple light soared into the sky, and then the sound wave dragon stopped in midair, motionless. In the purple light, an inconspicuous toad slowly leaped out and landed on the head of the sound wave dragon. The purple toad seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact it was extremely fast, so fast that the sound wave dragon seemed to be still. After the purple toad jumped away from the sound wave dragon, the sound wave dragon screamed towards the sky, and then its huge dragon body fell from the sky, smashing fiercely on the ground. The almost transparent dragon body collapsed inch by inch, shattering into countless invisible fragments. The moment the sound wave dragon was destroyed, the smile on Ku Shinjue's face completely froze. He looked at all this in disbelief. The bronze cauldron was a rank 3 astral weapon with peerless power. This Zhuowen should not be able to block it. But now this kid blocked it and even destroyed the Soundwave Dragon. This was too inconceivable. Damn it! Ku Shinjue's eyes were red, and he almost crazily bombarded the bronze cauldron. He used all his strength and poured all the power in his body into the bronze cauldron. And because Ku Shinjue used too much strength, his face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body staggered, and he could not stand steadily. An even more terrifying sound wave came, and this time it actually turned into 3 sound wave dragons. They whistled and surrounded Zhuowen, ruthlessly surrounding him in the center. Zhuowen still stood quietly in the same place, and the purple toad on his shoulder jumped out again, turning into a purple shadow that could not be seen with the naked eye. When the purple toad returned to Zhuo Wen's shoulder, the three sound wave dragons were annihilated one after another. Ku Xinjue's pupils shrank, and he finally realized that something was wrong. He stared at the purple toad on Zhuo Wen's shoulder, and his lips trembled slightly. Could it be that you're a rank for astral weapon? Zhuo Wen grinned and did not say anything. Instead, with a thought, the purple toad on his shoulder flew out again, and in the blink of an eye, it landed in front of Ku Xinjue. Ku Xinjue only felt an extremely ominous premonition rise in his mind. Without even thinking, he placed the bronze cauldron in front of him. However, he soon discovered that the bronze cauldron had suddenly become heavy, and it was even trembling. It didn't listen to his orders at all. His heart was shocked. He could already confirm that the mysterious purple toad was indeed a powerful astral soldier that surpassed the third rank. Whoosh! As the bronze cauldron trembled and didn't dare to attack, the purple toad leaped over the cauldron and landed on Ku Xinjue's head. Ku Xinjue only felt a vast and terrifying energy pouring into his Tianling acupoint, instantly filling his entire body. Then his eyes were filled with terror, and he completely lost consciousness. The spectators were shocked to find that the moment the purple toad landed on Ku Xinjue's head, Ku Xinjue didn't move and stood stiffly in midair. After the purple toad left, Ku Xinjue's body exploded into a bloody mist. He died without a complete corpse. The surrounding crowd was completely silent. Everyone seemed to have been petrified as they stood rooted to the ground. They didn't expect that the final result would be like this. Ku Xinjue was actually defeated. Zhuo Wen waved his sleeve and put away Ku Xinjue's spirit ring and bronze cauldron. Then he strode towards Li Miao and Lu Hong. "Senior brother Dawen, please spare our lives. What happened before was all a misunderstanding. It was all Ku Xinjue's orders." Li Miao's legs went soft. He immediately knelt down and said while trembling. Lu Hong was also extremely terrified. She was out of her wits and knelt down as well. "If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Li Miao, you tried to kill me and humiliate me time and time again. If I don't kill you, where will I put my face?" Zhuo Wen was expressionless. After he finished speaking, his right hand's sword finger landed on Li Miao's forehead. Li Miao groaned and fell to the ground, completely losing his breath. Lu Hong was so frightened that she almost screamed. She hurriedly lowered her head, and her delicate body trembled. "Lu Hong, I don't have much enmity with you. Therefore, I don't plan to kill you. However, you can be considered Ku Xinjue's accomplice. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment." As Zhuo Wen spoke, he waved his sleeve. A strong wind blasted out like a blade and chopped off Lu Hong's right arm. Lu Hong gritted her teeth and endured the pain. She didn't cry out. Instead, she sighed softly and bowed to Zhuo Wen. Then, she silently turned around and left. "You guys should leave too." Zhuo Wen looked at the trembling cultivators in Ku Xinjue's group not far away. He waved his hand and let them leave. Zhuo Wen didn't even know these people, let alone have any enmity with them. Zhuo Wen wouldn't implicate them and randomly kill them because of Ku Xinjue's matter. "Mei Yuanxi, I didn't ask you to leave." Suddenly, Zhuo Wen spoke. His gaze fell on Mei Yuanxi, who was about to turn around and leave with the rest. Mei Yuanxi's body stiffened. Without thinking, he executed his strongest movement technique and disappeared from the spot in the blink of an eye. He flew into the distance. Zhuo Wen sneered. He slashed out with his soul sword essence. It tore through the air and instantly caught up to Mei Yuanxi. The purple gold divine sword pierced through the air and pierced through Mei Yuanxi's entire body. Mei Yuanxi only had time to let out a blood-curdling scream. Blood rained down from the sky, and his corpse fell heavily into the abyss. Seeing Mei Yuanci fall, the rest of the group stopped in their tracks. They looked at Zhuowen in fear and didn't dare to leave anymore. "You guys can leave now. I have some enmity with Mei Yuanci, but not with you guys." Zhuowen waved his hand and said indifferently. Only then did the group relax. Then they all executed their movement techniques and fled in all directions. They were afraid that if they were too slow, they would be killed by Zhuowen. Zhuowen rubbed his nose, thinking to himself, was he that terrifying? These people actually couldn't wait to run away. "Senior brother Dawen, I didn't expect you to be so strong. Even Ku Xinjue, who was in the early yin-yang transformation stage, was killed by you." Li Xinbing walked over with a smile on her face. She had a charming look on her face. She knew that she had made the right choice. Standing on Zhuowen's side was the best choice. Unfortunately, Mei Yuanci had chosen the wrong side. Now he was dead. It's not worth mentioning. I also relied on my astral weapon to defeat Ku Xinjue. Zhuowen waved his hand and said nonchalantly. At this moment, Su Rong and the rest had already caught up. They hurriedly bowed to Zhuowen. "Senior brother Dawen, thank you for your help. Otherwise, we would have died in the hands of that bastard Li Miao." After expressing his gratitude, Su Rong vehemently complained about Li Miao's crimes. At the same time, he hinted to Zhuowen that they had left his team, mainly because Li Miao had bewitched him. The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up into a smile. How could he not hear that Su Rong wanted to rejoin the team? Unfortunately, Zhuowen wasn't willing to let Su Rong and the rest join his team. If he gave others a chance, he wouldn't give it twice. Since Su Rong had missed it, they wouldn't have the chance to join Zhuowen's team again. Chapter 39:15. Senior brother Dawen, we're all cultivators from the Wukong State region. Look at us. Su Rong braced himself and said, Zhuowen had shown such great strength. If they joined Zhuowen's team, they would definitely pass this trial. How could they give up? Zhuowen sneered and shook his head. Brother Su, I've already given you a chance. You didn't cherish it. You and I were originally on the same team, but you abandoned me and Miss Xiling to join Ku Xinjue's team. You're no longer my companion, so I have no obligation to take you in again. Li Xinbing stood aside and listened silently. She also understood the whole story and looked at Su Rong and the other two with disdain. It turned out that the three of them were fence-sitters. They had abandoned Zhuowen before, and now that he was so powerful, they wanted to join Zhuowen. Even she would not accept such fence-sitters. Su Rong and the other two's faces turned pale. Just as they were about to speak, Li Xinbing suddenly said, You three, you saw what happened to Brother Me just now. Senior brother Dawen is already being merciful by not attacking you. It's better that you don't push your luck. Hearing this, Su Rong and the other two's faces changed drastically. They remembered Mi Yuanci's fate. Mi Yuanci chose Ku Xinjue, and in the end, he was killed by Zhuowen. They had already betrayed Zhuowen, but he did not kill them. It was indeed merciful. Thank you for saving our lives, Senior Brother Dawen. We'll take our leave now. Su Rong and the other two did not ask to join the team. Instead, they cupped their fists at Zhuowen and quickly left. Zhuowen looked at her with approval and said, Sisterly, from today onwards, you and your companions are also my companions. I hope we can be in the same boat for a period of time. Li Xinbing smiled sweetly. Her beautiful face became even more radiant because of her smile. Zhuowen could not help but take a second look at her. Li Xinbing was also quite excited. She knew that when Zhuowen said these words, he had already regarded her as a true companion. She also knew that all of this was because she had chosen the right side. Otherwise, Zhuowen would not have accepted her so easily. Senior brother Dawen, you can call me junior sister Li from now on. Li Xinbing smiled. Good. Junior sister Li, let's go in and take a look. Zhuowen nodded and led Xinbing into the palace in the Black Forest. They found 2 headless statues in the palace. At the same time, Zhuowen found 3 headless statues in Kuxinjue's spirit ring. In other words, they had obtained 5 headless idols this time. This harvest could be said to be extremely rich. We already have 7 headless idols. If we can obtain 3 more headless idols, we only need to stay in the palace, and we'll be able to survive the remaining 20-odd days. Li Xinbing's beautiful eyes were filled with excitement. Zhuowen smiled. It seemed that for the next period of time, he could finally find trouble with those evil spirits in the dark and improve his cultivation. After the 2 of them took the headless idols, they returned to the Great Rift Valley. Everyone in the palace came out to welcome them. When they found out that they had obtained 5 headless idols, in one go, they were all very excited. Senior brother Dawen, where is senior brother Mei? In the group, Mei Yuanxi's 2 companions could not help but ask when they saw that Mei Yuanxi did not return with Zhuowen. Zhuowen said indifferently, Mei Yuanxi betrayed us and was killed by me. I won't make things difficult for you. You can leave now. Mei Yuanxi's 2 companions were stunned. After a moment of silence, they cupped their fists at Zhuowen and quickly left the Great Rift Valley. Senior brother Dawen, their eyes are filled with hatred. If you let them go, I'm afraid they won't let you go. Li Xinbing said worriedly. They are not even comparable to Mei Yuanxi. What can they do? Zhuowen said calmly. Hearing this, Li Xinbing's beautiful eyes flickered. She could only nod her head, but there was still some worry in her heart. After Mei Yuanxi's 2 companions left the Great Rift Valley, one of them, a tall and skinny man, said with hatred in his eyes, This Dawen is really a bastard. He actually killed senior brother Mei. He must have done it on purpose. After killing him, he even slandered senior brother Mei for betraying us. What a despicable person. The slightly plump man beside him said hesitantly, I don't think Dawen is that kind of person. Otherwise, why would he let us go just like that? Humph, he's just a hypocrite. The 2 of us are not strong. In his eyes, how can the 2 of us pose a threat to him? Since we can't pose a threat, he naturally won't bother to deal with us. The tall and skinny man snorted coldly. The slightly plump man smiled bitterly and said, You're right. The 2 of us are too weak. Now that we've been chased out, I'm afraid we'll die tonight. The tall and skinny man's eyes flickered as he said in a low voice, That's not necessarily true. We can rely on others. The slightly plump man hesitated and said, I know that, but the problem is, who can we rely on now? I don't know anyone in this trial, and the people from our province are all dead. Only the 2 of us are left. The tall and skinny man said proudly, You also know that I have a good relationship with senior brother Mi. 5 years ago, senior brother Mi and I went to the Feihong province and met Wang Qingxue, and Wang Qingxue and senior brother Mi had a relationship. As long as we rely on Wang Qingxue, we might be able to avenge senior brother Mi. The slightly plump man's eyes widened as he asked tentatively, Feihong province? Could it be that Wang Qingxue is related to Wang Wenhong? She's Wang Wenhong's cousin. She's also in Wang Wenhong's team this time. The tall and skinny man said proudly. The slightly plump man was pleasantly surprised. That was Wang Wenhong, one of the 3 seated geniuses in this trial. He was a monstrous genius on the same level as Tsang Juanda, and his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the yin-yang transformation. If they could join Wang Wenhong's team, there would be no doubt that they would pass the trial. The slightly plump man asked doubtfully, since senior brother Mi is so close to Wang Qingxue, why didn't he join Wang Wenhong's team from the beginning? The tall and skinny man said, awkwardly, although the two of them had a relationship, it was actually quite short. Senior brother Mi is a man after all. He naturally wouldn't lower himself to join his ex-girlfriend's team. Now that senior brother Mi has been killed by that Dao Rune, we have no choice but to rely on Wang Qingxue. I think she would accept us on account of senior brother Mi's relationship, right? The slightly plump man looked at the unsure expression on the tall and skinny man's face and was speechless. This guy was too unreliable. He wasn't even sure if Wang Qingxue would accept them. However, he also knew that this was their last chance. Chapter 39:16. After a while, the lanky man's communication jade talisman lit up. After reading the message, his eyes lit up with joy. Wang Qingxue is willing to accept us. She even gave us a specific location. It's quite a distance from here. If we run at full speed, we should be able to reach their palace before nightfall. The lanky man put away the communication jade talisman and rushed towards Wang Qingxue's palace with the chubby man. As the sun set in the west and was about to sink below the horizon, the lanky man and the chubby man finally arrived at Wang Wenhong's palace. This palace was situated on top of a snowy mountain. The surface of the snowy mountain was covered with pure white snow. It was wrapped in silver and flawless. The palace was also covered in snow, as if it was wearing a thick layer of silver-white armor. When the two of them reached the peak of the mountain, a young woman slowly walked out in front of the palace at the peak of the mountain. The woman was tall and slender, with long black hair that reached her waist. When the two men saw the woman's figure, their eyes lit up. However, when their gazes fell on the woman's face, their expressions changed slightly. This was because there were many red spots on her face. Most of the red spots were concentrated on the right side of her face. If one only looked at the left side of her face, she was actually quite good-looking. However, because of the red spots on the right side of her face, her appearance was completely ruined. She could only be described as ugly. The lanky man hurriedly stepped forward and said respectfully, "Senior Sister Wang, I'm Lu Yong. Senior Sister Wang should still remember me, right?" The chubby man also hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. He knew that the ugly woman in front of him should be the Wang Qingxue that the lanky man had mentioned. Although the lanky man had reminded him many times on the way that Wang Qingxue's appearance was somewhat average, he was prepared. However, now that he saw the real person, he felt that the lanky man's evaluation of Wang Qingxue was too high. How was she average? She was simply too ugly. Wang Qingxue looked at the sky and realized that it was going to be dark soon. She said to the two men, "Come in first. Tell me more about senior brother Mi." The two men obediently followed Wang Qingxue into the palace. After walking into the hall, they found that there were not many people in the hall. There were only about 5 people, and the most conspicuous one was the young man sitting in the middle of the hall. This young man had a dignified appearance and an extraordinary bearing. He wore white clothes, and he was like a budding white lotus that was untainted by the mortal world. What surprised them even more was that there were 13 headless idols piled up around the young man. Pei Shanglong had once said that in this small world, as long as he could obtain 10 headless idols, he would be able to smoothly survive for 30 days. There were more than 10 headless idols piled up beside the young man. This meant that they didn't need to snatch the idols of others to pass the trial. The white-clothed youth who was resting with his eyes closed slowly opened his eyes. He looked coldly at the two men and asked, "Qingxue, which one of them is Mei Yuanxi?" Wang Qingxue shook her head and said, "Cousin, they are not Mei Yuanxi. The real Mei Yuanxi is already dead. At this point, Wang Qingxue was a little sad. Even though she had broken up with Mei Yuanxi, she still missed him. Now that Mei Yuanxi was dead, her heart was filled with sorrow. Since they are not Mei Yuanxi, then kill them. The white-clothed youth, Wang Wenhong, said indifferently. The two men were so frightened that they quickly knelt on the ground, cold sweat dripping down their foreheads. Cousin, they are Mei Yuanxi's companions after all. Our team doesn't have many people, right? Please let them stay. Wang Qingxue pleaded softly. Wang Wenhong frowned slightly and nodded, saying, Since you say so, then we can keep them by our side. We already have enough headless idols. We just need to stay here for another 20 days, and we will pass the trial. With that, Wang Wenhong closed his eyes again and continued to cultivate. Cousin, Mei Yuanxi is my Tao companion after all. Don't you care about his death at all? Wang Qingxue stomped her foot and said. Wang Wenhong didn't even open his eyes, saying, Qingxue, can't you see? That Mei Yuanxi didn't treat you sincerely. It's good that he's dead. At least you won't miss him too much. As for avenging him, I don't have the time for that. Wang Qingxue's eyes reddened, saying, If you don't want to go, then I will. Whether he treated me sincerely or not, he was my Tao companion after all. I can't just ignore his death. With that, Wang Qingxue said to the lanky man, Tomorrow morning, bring me to find the murderer. I will avenge Mei Yuanxi. The lanky man trembled and hurriedly said, Miss Qingxue, you mustn't. The murderer's strength is not to be underestimated. Even though his cultivation is nothing special, he has a powerful astral weapon. Even Ku Xinjue of Wukong province died in his hands. The lanky man knew that Zhuowen had a rank 4 astral weapon because Mei Yuanxi had contacted him before his death and mentioned that Zhuowen had used a rank 4 astral weapon to kill Ku Xinjue. Hearing this, Wang Wenhong, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed as he stared at the lanky man and said, What did you say? That person has a rank 4 astral weapon fragment. Could he be Tsang Juanda or Ming Yinggu? Seeing that Wang Wenhong was finally interested, the lanky man heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, His name is Dao Wen from Wukong province. He isn't Tsang Juanda or Ming Yinggu, and his cultivation is only at the 5 elements transformation stage. But he is very strong and has a rank 4 astral weapon fragment. Ordinary yin-yang transformation stage cultivators are no match for him. Wang Wenhong narrowed his eyes, saying, Not Tsang Juanda or Ming Yinggu, but he has a rank 4 astral weapon. This is interesting. Qingxue, I'll go with you tomorrow. Although Wang Wenhong was the strongest genius in the Feihong province and had a rank 4 astral weapon given to him by the sect, this rank 4 astral weapon was given to him by the sect. But this rank 4 astral weapon was only given to him temporarily by the sect. After this trial, he would have to take it back. Not only him, but Tsang Juanda and Ming Yinggu also had rank 4 astral weapons given to them by their respective sections. This was to prevent other geniuses from using astral weapons to kill them. Therefore, even though Wang Wenhong knew that Tsang Juanda and Ming Yinggu had rank 4 astral weapons, he didn't dare to fight with them. After all, their cultivation was about the same, and their astral weapons were also about the same. A battle would only result in both sides suffering. But Zhuowen was different. His cultivation was only at the 5 elements transformation stage, but he had a rank 4 astral weapon. To Wang Wenhong, this was a big prey. He also had a rank 4 astral weapon, and his cultivation was stronger than Zhuowen's. As long as he killed this person, the rank 4 astral weapon would naturally be his. This was a great temptation. Chapter 39:17. When night fell, Zhuowen carried the headless idol and left the palace. The people in the palace had long been accustomed to Zhuowen's behavior. After all, Zhuowen would enter the darkness every night, and no one knew what he was up to. After walking out of the Rift Valley, Zhuowen grabbed Ala, who had lost her limbs, from the outside world. Ala, it's another beautiful night. I need some warrior-level evil spirits. I think you'll help me find them, right? Zhuowen said with a smile. Ala looked at Zhuowen's smile, and her body trembled. She cursed in her heart. This young man looked harmless, but he was actually an extremely black-bellied guy. Thinking of this, a bright smile appeared on Ala's face. She said, "Of course, now that we're old friends, of course I'll help you." Zhuowen smiled. Then, under Ala's lead, he entered the territory of the nearest warrior-level evil spirits. Zhuowen could feel that tonight's night was much scarier than before. The pressure from the depths of the darkness was like countless mountains crushing down on him, making it difficult for him to breathe. He was panting slightly. Not only that, but the number of warrior-level evil spirits in the darkness was also much more than before. If Zhuowen had not been accompanied by Ala, a cultivator-level evil spirit, who released her aura to scare away the surrounding fighter-level evil spirits, Zhuowen doubted that the headless idol he carried on his shoulder would be able to withstand so many evil spirits. Zhuowen put away the headless idol. With Ala's existence, this headless idol was useless to him. About an hour later, Zhuowen came to a swamp. The area of the swamp was very large. It was surrounded by withered trees that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. They looked like malicious ghosts. Around the swamp, there was a thick, ink-black fog floating and emitting waves of stench. Zhuowen also discovered that there were no other evil spirits in the vicinity of the swamp. Many Dou-level evil spirits had stopped their advance when they were several thousand miles away from the swamp. They did not dare to approach. The moment Zhuowen entered the swamp with Ala, a huge wave suddenly rose in the central swamp. Then, a huge black shadow rushed out of the water and floated in midair. Zhuowen looked up and found that the black shadow was a huge evil spirit with a human head and a snake body. This evil spirit was not smaller than Ala, and the aura it emitted was even stronger than Ala's. "Ala, how dare you trespass into my territory?" The evil spirit with a human head and a snake body stared coldly at Ala with its scarlet eyes, and its voice was full of tyranny. Although it saw Zhuowen beside Ala, it subconsciously ignored Zhuowen. In its eyes, this human should be food that Ala brought with her, and was insignificant. Of course, it also noticed that Ala's 4 limbs were broken and looked like a bare stone stick. Its eyes showed a trace of doubt. Ala's eyes showed a bit of fear. He smiled and said, "Shibai, it is not me who is looking for you. It is my old friend who is looking for you. He has something to discuss with you." Shibai's scarlet eyes narrowed. He suppressed his anger and said coldly, "Who is your old friend? What do you want to discuss with me?" Ala chuckled, his huge eyes falling on Zhuowen. Shibai's attention fell on Zhuowen, who was beside Ala. He sneered and said, "Ala, the old friend you are talking about is this lowly human, right?" Ala was slightly embarrassed and did not answer. Instead, he looked at Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. He did not take Shibai's disdainful words to heart. Instead, he said lightly, "You are called Shibai, right? My purpose for coming here today is very simple. I want your life." Zhuowen's words were very serious. Shibai was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed and looked at Zhuowen as if he was looking at an idiot. "Ant human, what did you just say? You want my life. Is there something wrong with your brain?" Shibai sneered again. Ala carefully said, "Shibai, he does have the strength to take your life." "Shut up." Shibai coldly scolded Ala and continued, "After I eat this human, I will kill you." You are just a piece of trash who has lost all 4 of your limbs. How much strength can you use? Allah was embarrassed and did not know what to say. He only felt a burst of sadness. With his limbs cut off, his strength was indeed not as strong as before. If Zhuowen lost to Shibai, he would also be finished. Thinking of this, Allah immediately prayed in his heart that Zhuowen would be stronger. It would be best if he died together with Shibai. Die, human! How dare you trespass into my territory and provoke me? I will let you know how strong I am. Shibai's huge snake tail swung in the air, and then his huge snake body shot out from the void and swept towards Zhuowen. His speed was almost faster than the speed of sound. Zhuowen went all out, and the power of the 5 elements surged out, forming a huge 5 elements ring behind him. He grabbed the 5 elements ring with one hand and fiercely swung it towards Shibai. You are just a piece of trash in the 5 elements transformation realm. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? You are simply courting death. Shibai sneered again, and suddenly his huge snake tail whizzed out and heavily smashed towards Zhuowen's head. Immediately, an endless gale swept out, and the surrounding space seemed to be affected by this gale, collapsing inch by inch. Boom! The snake tail and the 5 elements ring collided, and suddenly a terrifying energy ripple exploded between the two. Shibai was horrified to find that the 5 elements ring contained a power that could restrain him. Bang! Shibai was directly hit by the 5 elements ring and was directly thrown into the swamp, splashing countless waves. This is the power of righteousness. You are actually a bastard from the exorcist family. Shibai crawled up and looked at Zhuowen with a gloomy face. Zhuowen snorted and did not give Shibai a chance to talk nonsense. He swept out again, and the 5 elements ring shot out like lightning, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Shibai. Despicable human. So what if you are from the exorcist family? Today, I will beat you into shit. Serpent Bearer was really angry. Seeing that Zhuowen was still attacking, he roared angrily, and his huge serpent body pounced towards Zhuowen. Moreover, Shibai did not hold back anymore, and almost burst out with all his strength to fight with Zhuowen. Allah retreated to the edge of the swamp and looked at the 2 figures fighting in the sky above the swamp. Her eyes were full of fear, and she muttered to herself, "This Zhuowen is much stronger than when he first met me. He can actually fight Shibai to this extent, and it seems that Shibai is about to be suppressed." Boom! Suddenly, the 2 people fighting in the sky separated and retreated dozens of miles, facing each other from a distance. Chapter 39:18. Fight! Zhuowen let out a long roar as the energy in his body surged out. He shot out like an arrow leaving the bowstring, nearing Shibai in the blink of an eye, and punched at Shibai like a madman. Huang Xiaolong used his full strength in every punch, and Shibai was in a sorry state, falling into a disadvantageous position. Phew, this Zhuowen has become so strong. Shibai is going to lose. Allah muttered to himself as the fear in his eyes deepened. Sure enough, not long after Allah finished speaking, Shibai let out a miserable shriek as his tail was torn off by Zhuowen's bare hands. Blood rained down from the sky, forming a strange blood rain. Then, Zhuowen followed up with another attack, closing in on Shibai. Both of his fists were like a storm, and every punch contained his full strength. Bloody holes appeared on Shibai's body. In the end, Shibai let out a miserable shriek and fell from the sky. Allah looked over and was shocked to see that Shibai's body was in tatters and riddled with holes. Ah, how many punches did Huang Xiaolong take to make Shibai so miserable? Shibai lay on the ground, twitching in pain. He wanted to get up, but his injuries were too heavy, and he fell to the ground again and again, looking extremely miserable. Zhuowen landed on the ground and swallowed a healing pellet. After calming the turbulent blood qi in his body, he strode towards Shishir-bai. Shishir-bai struggled to retreat, and fear filled his eyes as he looked at Zhuowen walking towards him. "Human, what are you doing? Don't come over." Zhuowen did not say a word, and in a single step he arrived in front of Shishir-bai. His right hand formed a claw and grabbed Shishir-bai's neck. At the same time, his palm spat out a vast amount of grand mist god force, which turned into fiery energy and began to refine Shishir-bai's body. Shi-bai screamed in pain as he struggled to break free from Zhuowen's claw. Unfortunately, his injuries were too severe, and he couldn't break free from Zhuowen's grasp. He could only watch helplessly as grand mist god force devoured his body. About an hour later, the huge body of the Snake King was completely refined by Zhuowen. It turned into surging energy and poured into Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen only felt his body warm up, and then his whole body was surging with a terrifying amount of energy. He could clearly feel that after refining the Snake King, the energy in his body had increased by a lot. However, to his disappointment, there were no signs of a breakthrough in his cultivation. He knew that the energy of a single warrior-level evil charm was far from enough. He needed to hunt more warrior-level evil charms in order to make another breakthrough in his cultivation. Zhuowen slowly turned his head and looked at Allah. The latter met Zhuowen's cold gaze, and he couldn't help but shudder. He quickly said, "Old friend, don't look at me like that. I know other places where warrior-level evil spirits live. I'll take you there immediately." Zhuowen withdrew his gaze and nodded, "Then lead the way." Allah wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and floated in the air, slowly flying towards the next place. Just now, Zhuowen's gaze had been filled with greed, brutality, and bloodthirst, and it had scared him so much that his heart had almost broken into half. He knew very well that this guy had failed to break through after refining Shishir-bai, and he had set his sights on him. Damn, what a terrifying human. I hope I can survive these 20 days by his side, and then he will quickly scram. Allah cursed in his heart. Next, Allah brought Zhuowen to the territories of 3 more warrior-level evil spirits. The strength of these 3 cultivator-level evil spirits was relatively average, and they were not even as strong as Allah. Therefore, Zhuowen easily dealt with them and refined them all. After refining these 3 evil spirits, Zhuowen's cultivation had successfully broken through from the late stage of the 5 elements change realm to the peak of the 5 elements change realm. After successfully breaking through, Zhuowen found that it was still early, and there was still some time before dawn. However, he did not continue to search for the rest of the evil spirits. Instead, he sat cross-legged on a rock and took out a broken mirror and a bronze cauldron from his great world. His eyes were filled with contemplation. The broken mirror was naturally the 3-fire true mirror. When Zhuowen first obtained the 3-fire true mirror, he had already merged the purple gold toad into it. Upon closer inspection, the bronze surface of the 3-fire true mirror had a pattern of a purple gold toad. Because the 3-fire true mirror's grade was much higher than the purple gold toad, the purple gold toad was swallowed by the 3-fire true mirror. Previously, when he dealt with Kashin Jue, he had used the power of the purple gold toad. The purple gold toad was originally a peak grade 3 astral weapon. After merging with the 3-fire true mirror, its power increased greatly. Dealing with a grade 3 bronze cauldron was naturally a piece of cake. Zhuowen silently looked at the bronze cauldron. In his opinion, the bronze cauldron was only a grade 3 astral weapon. Even if it merged with the 3-fire true mirror, the increase in power would be limited. After thinking for a while, he finally decided to merge the bronze cauldron with the 3-fire true mirror. After all, this item belonged to the Hongwu divine sect. If he kept it on him, the experts of the Hongwu Divine sect might find out. Therefore, in order to erase any traces, he could only merge the bronze cauldron with the three-fire true mirror. Thinking of this, Zhuowen's spiritual will started to touch the bronze cauldron. He entered the cauldron's artifact spirit world. The bronze cauldron's artifact spirit was a black tortoise. Zhuowen did not spend too much effort to subdue the black tortoise's artifact spirit and successfully merged it with the three-fire true mirror. After doing all this, Zhuowen noticed that the sky was gradually turning bright. He knew that dawn was coming. He looked at Allah, who was hiding not far away, and said, "It's almost dawn. Come into my great world." Allah was dejected and could only nod. Then, she was kept into Zhuowen's great world. After leaving, Zhuowen headed straight for the Great Rift Valley. When he arrived at the Great Rift Valley, the sky was completely bright. When he returned to the palace, Li Xinbing and Zi Ling reported to him that everything was fine last night. There were 7 headless statues in their palace. When they were piled up together, the light they emitted was too terrifying. Even the cultivator-level evil spirits did not dare to approach the palace. After knowing that everyone was safe, Zhuowen nodded and sat back in his seat. He began to cultivate and stabilize the realm that he had just broken through. Li Xinbing and Zi Ling looked at Zhuowen's back with some doubts. They noticed that Zhuowen's aura seemed to be much stronger than last night. Moreover, it was not only like this today. After returning a few nights ago, Zhuowen's aura was much stronger than before. Although they were puzzled, they knew that this was Zhuowen's secret. Therefore, they did not ask too much. At the same time, at the peak of a snowy mountain thousands of miles away, there was a palace. At this moment, several figures slowly walked out of the palace. The one in the lead was a handsome young man. Chapter 39:19. Half a day later, Wang Wenhong brought several people to the entrance of the Great Rift Valley. Wang Wenhong's cold eyes slowly narrowed as he looked into the valley. In the depths of the Great Rift Valley, the silhouette of a temple could be vaguely seen. "Senior brother Wang, Dao Wen is in the temple in the Great Rift Valley." Lu Yong hurried to Wang Wenhong's side with a fawning smile. Wang Wenhong nodded and led the group into the Great Rift Valley. Soon, they were within 1 mile of the temple. "Dao Wen, come out and die." Wang Qingxue was obviously an impatient person. Before Wang Wenhong could speak, she had already shouted first. Zhuowen, who was originally sitting cross-legged in the temple, slowly opened his eyes, frowned slightly, and stood up. Li Xinbing, Zi Ling, and the others also stood up with displeasure. They knew that someone had come to provoke them. However, they did not feel pressured because they knew Zhuowen's strength very well. Other than the 3 seated contestants in this trial, Zhuowen was basically not afraid of anyone. Let's go out and have a look." Zhuowen's eyes were calm as he stepped out. Li Xinbing, Zi Ling, and the others followed closely behind. After walking out of the temple, Zhuowen noticed Wang Wenhong and the others. The first person he noticed was Wang Wenhong. Wang Wenhong was extremely handsome with a slender body. He was a rare good-looking man. Of course, the reason Zhuowen noticed him at first glance was not because of Wang Wenhong's good looks, but because he sensed an extremely terrifying and blazing aura surging within Wang Wenhong's body. This aura was even stronger than Ku Xinjue's. In addition, he saw Lu Yong and Chen Lin beside Wang Wenhong, and his eyes gradually narrowed. Lu Yong and Chen Lin were Mei Yuanxi's companions. Because of Mei Yuanxi's betrayal, Zhuowen had banished the 2 without thinking of killing them. However, he did not expect that the 2 of them would not change. Not only did they seek refuge with others, they even brought people to cause trouble. This was somewhat unethical. Lu Yong, have I ever mistreated you? Zhuowen looked at Lu Yong and asked indifferently. Lu Yong was stunned. He thought about it and recalled that during his time in the team, Zhuowen had treated him equally and had never mistreated him. Dao Wen, you have never mistreated me, but don't forget that you killed senior brother Mei and chased us away. Do you think I don't know that you thought senior brother Mei was not strong enough, so you found an excuse to kill him? Wen's gaze turned cold as he said, if it's really as you say, that I'm looking for a reason to kill Mei Yuanxi, then why should I let the two of you go? Wouldn't it be better to just kill the two of you? Lu Yong was stunned and thought in his heart that what Zhuowen said was right, but he did not wish to admit his mistake and said with a cold smile, who knows what you're thinking? In any case, it is an indisputable fact that you killed senior brother Mei. Zhuowen shook his head, his heart filled with killing intent. This Lu Yong was not grateful at all. If he had known, he would have killed him. So you're Dao Wen. How dare you? You even dare to kill my Dao companion. Wang Qingxue stared coldly at Zhuowen and screamed. Her sharp voice was ear-piercing. Zhuowen turned to look at Wang Qingxue and said expressionlessly, an ugly girl like you can find a Dao companion? Then how bad is your Dao companion's taste? Wang Qingxue was stunned. Lu Yong and the others were also stunned. Wang Qingxue's face had many red spots. She was indeed ugly, but to Wang Qingxue, this was taboo. Anyone who dared to call her ugly was basically dead. This person was really bold. He actually dared to call Wang Qingxue ugly in front of her. You're courting death. Wang Qingxue was flustered and exasperated. She used her movement technique and rushed toward Zhuowen as fast as lightning. However, she was quickly stopped by Wang Wenhong. Cousin, what are you doing? I'm going to kill this bastard. Wang Qingxue said crazily when she saw Wang Wenhong stop her. Qingxue, calm down. You're no match for this person. He's deliberately provoking you. Wang Wenhong said calmly and led Wang Qingxue back to the team. Zhuowen looked at Wang Wenhong deeply. The latter was right. He was deliberately provoking Wang Qingxue. Wang Qingxue was not weak. She was at the peak of the 5 elements change realm. In addition, Wang Wenhong had 2 other peak 5 elements change realm experts with him. The rest were at the late stage of the 5 elements change realm. Such a lineup was extremely terrifying. If the two sides fought, their team would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, he planned to provoke Wang Qingxue and make her lose her mind. She would rush over and kill him first. Unfortunately, his plan was seen through by Wang Wenhong. Li Xinbing and Ziling's pretty faces turned pale. Although they did not know Wang Wenhong and the others, they could see that the lineup was terrifying. It was much stronger than their team. Fellow cultivator, you must be Dao Wen. I'm Wang Wenhong from the Feihong state. Wang Wenhong saluted Zhuowen and said elegantly, What? It's Wang Wenhong. Li Xinbing, Ziling, and the others' faces changed. They looked at the young man with a refined smile in front of them in horror. When they saw Wang Wenhong's lineup, they already knew that he was not an ordinary person. They did not expect that this team was led by Wang Wenhong. He was known as one of the 3 seeded contestants in this trial. His cultivation had reached the middle stage of the yin-yang change realm, which was many times stronger than Ku Xinjue. It's over. Even Wang Wenhong is attacking us. Li Xinbing muttered to herself. She gritted her teeth and said to Wang Wenhong, Senior Wang, with your strength, you should have collected enough headless idols by now. There's no need to continue fighting with us. Wang Wenhong smiled and said calmly, You're right. I have collected enough headless idols. I didn't come here today for your palaces. I'm here for Daowen, Zhuowen said expressionlessly. Fellow cultivator Wang, you're here for me? I don't remember knowing you. Why are you looking for me? Wang Wenhong smiled faintly and said, I heard from Lu Yong that you have a stage for astral weapon. Hee, I'm very interested in this stage for astral weapon. If Brother Dao, one is willing to give it to me, I'll leave immediately and not trouble you. Wang Qingshue's pretty face changed slightly and said quickly, Cousin, he's the murderer of Mei Yuanxi. How can you let him go just like that? Wang Wenhong's expression turned cold. He looked at Wang Qingxue coldly and said, Qingxue, stop fooling around. Life and death in this trial is up to the heavens. Mei Yuanxi died because he was not strong enough. Chapter 39:20. Brother Daowen, my sister is a little insensible. She's embarrassed herself in front of you. I've already given you a choice. I think Brother Daowen is also a smart person and should know what to choose. Wang Wenhong raised his head and smiled at Zhuowen. Zhuowen looked deeply at Wang Wenhong. This person seemed extraordinary, but in reality, he was extremely domineering. As soon as he came over, he asked him to hand over the rank 4 astral weapon on him, as if he was giving an order. This made Zhuowen extremely unhappy. What if I don't give it to you? Zhuowen asked indifferently. Wang Wenhong smiled, but the aura on his body became more and more terrifying. Ha! You won't give it to me? Then I'll cripple you first and make you beg to hand over the rank 4 astral weapon to me, begging me to spare your life. Wang Wenhong said, casually. Zhuowen smiled, but his smile was filled with coldness. This Wang Wenhong was indeed incomparably domineering. The moment he arrived, he opened his mouth and asked for the rank 4 astral weapon on him. He had only refused, but he immediately wanted to cripple him and use this to humiliate him. This person was really impressive. Then I'd like to see how you're going to cripple me. Today I'll fight you. It has nothing to do with them. Zhuowen said calmly. Before Wang Wenhong could speak, Wang Qingxue, who was beside him, sneered. Ha! You murderer! You killed my cultivation partner. Not only do I want you dead, but everyone related to you must die. I'll kill them all. I'll make you regret killing Mei Yuanxi. Zhuowen's expression became incomparably cold. This ugly woman was a little too much. Junior sister Li, junior sister Ziling, bring everyone into my great world first. Zhuowen turned his head and said to Li Xinbing and Ziling. Then, with a wave of his sleeve, he created a vortex entrance that led to the great world. Li Xinbing and Ziling did not doubt Zhuowen and led everyone into the vortex. Ha! After my cousin kills you, everyone else will die too. Wang Qingxue sneered. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. This time, the ones who are going to die are your cousin and you, not me. Zhuowen said as he strode towards Wang Wenhong. A terrifying power of the 5 elements gushed out from his body, forming a gigantic 5 elements ring behind him. There's actually such a huge 5-element ring. This person is indeed not ordinary. When Wang Wenhong saw Zhuowen's 5-elemental ring, he couldn't help but frown. This was the first time he had seen such a huge 5-elemental ring on Zhuowen's body. Although Zhuowen was still in the transformation of the 5 elements, he didn't dare to underestimate him. His right hand formed a palm, and his feet moved in a mysterious pattern as he charged at Zhuowen. Boom! The moment Zhuowen closed in on Wang Wenhong, his right leg lashed out like a whip. Strong qi swirled in the air, creating a whistling sound. Wang Wenhong, on the other hand, was neither fast nor slow. His right hand formed a palm, and within the palm of his hand was a deep blue ice energy. With an extremely fast speed, he blasted it onto Zhuowen's right foot. In an instant, Zhuowen's right foot was covered in a terrifying chill, and his entire right foot was frozen solid. Then, Wang Wenhong's right palm blasted out several times, targeting Zhuowen's vital points. Zhuowen snorted coldly. His right fist spat out rays of light, and he also blasted out several punches, which collided with Wang Wenhong's palm. Instantly, terrifying energy ripples erupted from the collision between the two, and the two of them retreated at the same time. Zhuowen landed on the ground, and with a shake of his right foot, the ice on the surface of his foot shattered into countless ice shards. Wang Wenhong landed not far away, and his expression gradually became serious. Above his head, a constantly revolving yin-yang symbol floated. He didn't expect Zhuowen to force him to use his full strength the moment the two of them exchanged blows. He even activated the yin-yang pattern. I've never seen someone at the peak of the transformation of the 5 elements have such terrifying battle prowess. Where do you come from? Wang Wenhong frowned and asked seriously. I'm just a rogue cultivator. Zhuowen sneered. Humph. Since you won't say, then don't blame me for being impolite. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Let's fight to the death. Wang Wenhong walked step by step into the void, his figure growing taller bit by bit, and his hair loosened, flying chaotically. When he reached the highest point, he stopped and looked down at Zhuowen. Dawen, accept my punishment. After Wang Wenhong finished speaking, he pointed his right hand at the sky. Instantly, the clouds above his head began to funnel downwards, landing in front of Wang Wenhong. Only then did Zhuowen notice that Wang Wenhong was holding the tip of a bronze spear in his hand at some unknown time. The surface of this spear was engraved with dense patterns. It looked mysterious, magical, and extremely extraordinary. In particular, the terrifying pressure coming from the tip of the spear was like a mountain pressing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. Its cousin's rank 4 astral weapon, the ultimate azure spear. This Dawen is dead for sure. It's impossible for him to block a rank 4 astral weapon. Wang Qingxue sneered. Lu Yong and Chen Lin were somewhat worried. They knew that Zhuowen also had a rank 4 astral weapon on him. Originally, they thought that if it was a one-on-one, Wang Wenhong should be able to easily deal with this Zhuowen. Unexpectedly, when the two of them fought just now, Wang Wenhong didn't gain the slightest advantage. Zhuowen's eyes flickered as he watched Wang Wenhong take out the bronze spear tip. He also raised his hand and took out the rank 4 astral weapon, 3 Fire True Mirror. I really didn't expect this Wang Wenhong to also have a rank 4 astral weapon on him. No wonder he's so confident. Zhuowen muttered to himself as he took out the 3 Fire True Mirror, his eyes filled with passion. The 3 Fire True Mirrors level was very high, almost reaching the peak of rank 4. Zhuowen believed that if he fused with the bronze spear tip in Wang Wenhong's hand, he might be able to advance further and reach the level of a rank 5 astral weapon. Lu Yong is right. You really do have a rank 4 astral weapon on you, and your astral weapon is quite extraordinary. Wang Wenhong's eyes lit up when he saw Zhuowen take out the 3 Fire True Mirror, and an extremely greedy expression gradually appeared on his face. I should be the one saying this. I also didn't expect you to actually have a rank 4 astral weapon on you. I was just planning to get another rank 4 astral weapon, and you just happened to deliver it to me. You saved me a lot of time looking for it. Zhuowen said indifferently, Hee, arrogant guy, do you really think you're my opponent? Wang Wenhong sneered and didn't waste any more words. With a wave of his right hand, the bronze spear tip floating beside him turned into a green light and suddenly swept towards Zhuowen. The spear tip streaked across the void, and it actually emitted the sound of cloth tearing, as if it wanted to tear the entire void into pieces. Zhuowen was not afraid at all. The 3 Fire True Mirror also flew out, and the mirror spewed out blazing blood-colored flames. immediately enveloping the three-fire true mirror, forming a huge blood-colored fireball. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately, the two rank 4 astral weapons clashed, and a terrifying energy ripple spread out. The entire rift valley below was affected, and many rock walls collapsed because of it. Zhuowen and Wang Wenhong soared into the sky, deliberately avoiding the rift valley. After all, the palace was still there, so the two of them naturally wouldn't destroy it because of the battle. Chapter 39:21. Above the clouds, Zhuowen and Wang Wenhong were like two gods as they engaged in a fierce battle. Streaks of dazzling light erupted from the horizon. Zhuowen wielded the 5-element hoop and bombarded Wang Wenhong over and over again. Meanwhile, Wang Wenhong used his yin-yang symbol as a weapon and also bombarded Zhuowen relentlessly. Boom! Zhuowen abruptly swung the 5-element hoop and viciously smashed it in front of Wang Wenhong. A terrifying power erupted, causing Wang Wenhong's expression to change slightly as he blocked the yin-yang symbol in front of him. Bam! Wang Wenhong let out a muffled groan as he stepped back repeatedly in the air. Meanwhile, Zhuowen was as steady as a mountain. He controlled the 5-element hoop with his mind and attacked Wang Wenhong relentlessly. Meanwhile, streaks of purplish-gold light erupted from between his brows. These streaks of purplish-gold light condensed into a soaring sword intent. Streaks of terrifying purplish-gold divine swords shot out from between his brows and transformed into purplish-gold sword projections that filled the sky. They arced through the air and circled behind Wang Wenhong. Clang, clang, clang. The purplish-gold sword intents all targeted Wang Wenhong's vital points from the back and mercilessly pierced toward him. It was as if they were going to pierce through Wang Wenhong and turn him into a sieve. Wang Wenhong's expression changed slightly. The yin-yang symbol in front of him split into two. One blocked the 5-element hoop, while the other descended behind him to block these peculiar purplish-gold sword intents. Ever since Zhuowen cultivated the primordial chaos visualization diagram, the rank of his consciousness had increased extremely quickly. Now it had already reached the pinnacle of the heaven-crushing 6th form. Clang, clang, clang. The purplish-gold sword intents all rained down on the yin-yang symbol, causing countless sparks to fly. However, they were unable to break through the yin-yang symbol's defenses. Wang Wenhong exhaled lightly. He was even more wary of Zhuowen in his heart. The battle just then had truly shocked him. This man's strength was truly too terrifying. He had unleashed all of his abilities, yet he was still suppressed by this man. Was this guy really an Earth transformation stage cultivator? Just as Wang Wenhong was in a daze, countless purplish-gold sword intents suddenly fused into one and transformed into a terrifying purplish-gold sword that reached heaven and earth. In an instant, the entire sky was filled with a terrifying storm of sword intent that swept into the 9 heavens and spread in all directions. Wang Wenhong's expression changed. He could feel the threat of death from this terrifying sword intent. Boom! The gigantic purplish-gold sword intent suddenly slashed down on the yin-yang symbol. Bam, bam, bam. Suddenly, a series of terrifying cracking sounds came from the yin-yang pattern. Then, countless cracks appeared on the surface of the yin-yang pattern. When the cracks spread to the extreme, the yin-yang symbol shattered. The purple-gold greatsword landed on Wang Wenhong's body. Splat! A stream of mournful blood sprinkled down from the sky. Then, Wang Wenhong let out a painful roar and turned into a stream of light, instantly disappearing from this place. I Wenhong, I Wenhong, I Wenhong, I of you and God of you. Wang Wenhong, in the distant horizon, Wang Wenhong's exasperated voice sounded out and gradually faded away. At the same time, The bronze spear tip that was in a stalemate with the three-fire true mirror instantly erupted with a terrifying might. It wanted to charge out of the three-fire true mirror and follow Wang Wenhong. "Humph, you'd better stay behind." Zhuowen's cold voice sounded out. The three-fire true mirror's might instantly overflowed and filled the entire horizon. It actually forcefully suppressed the bronze spear tip, causing it to be unable to escape. In a valley surrounded by mountains tens of thousands of kilometers away, Wang Wenhong landed in the valley and fell to the ground with a plop. There was an extremely terrifying wound from his right shoulder to his left abdomen. Moreover, the wound was extremely deep, and fresh blood continuously flowed out. Damn it, I underestimated this Wenhong. He's actually so strong. Wang Wenhong's expression was unsightly. With a thought, he planned to summon the bronze spear tip back. However, after several failed attempts, he practically roared out in anger, "Bastard thing, even my rank 4 astral soldier is imprisoned." "Bastard, bastard," Wang Wenhong vented for a while. His eyes flickered, and he hesitated for a while. In the end, he did not have the courage to go back and look for Zhuowen. He knew that if he went back, he would not be able to escape anymore. He would definitely die. Thinking of this, Wang Wenhong sighed. After taking a healing divine pill, he continued to flee into the distance. He was really afraid of Zhuowen now. He only wanted to escape as far as possible. On Zhuowen's side, after Wang Wenhong escaped with serious injuries, Zhuowen activated the three-fire true mirror with all his might and completely suppressed the bronze spear tip. After that, he set up dense formations around the tip of the bronze spear. After completely trapping it, he let out a sigh of relief and put it away in his world. After doing all this, Zhuowen slowly descended into the Great Rift Valley. At this moment, Wang Qingxue and the others were all dumbfounded. They had not even recovered from the shock of Wang Wenhong's failure. Zhuowen did not care whether they regained their senses or not. Instead, he walked straight towards them. The moment he took a step, he waved his sleeve, and 2 streaks of starlight shot out, instantly piercing through Lu Yong and Chenlin. He had let these 2 guys go out of kindness, but he did not expect that they would repay kindness with enmity and lure Wang Wenhong and the others here to kill him. There was no reason for Zhuowen to continue letting these 2 bastards who bit the hand that fed them live. Once Lu Yong and Chenlin died, Wang Qingxue and the others immediately came to their senses. They all retreated and looked at Zhuowen in horror. Wang Qingxue, in particular, screamed and kept retreating, her delicate body trembling. Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he said coldly, "If you dare to take another step back, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." Wang Qingxue turned a deaf ear and continued to scream. She even used her movement technique and fled out of the Great Rift Valley. Unfortunately, as soon as Wang Qingxue fled, a purplish gold sword intent suddenly slashed out, cutting through the air and landing on her body. Wang Qingxue's divine soul was shattered by the purplish gold sword intent. Her body stiffened, and she fell from the air, smashing into the ground. She could not be more dead. When the remaining 4 people saw that Wang Wenhong was seriously injured and fled, and Wang Qingxue was killed with a single slash, they all trembled. Their eyes were filled with horror as they looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. Who else wants to escape? Zhuowen slowly descended from the sky. He looked at the remaining 4 people and said calmly. The 4 of them lowered their heads, trembling as they knelt on the ground. They were really frightened by Zhuowen. How could they simply escape? "Who has the headless idols in your hall?" Zhuowen asked indifferently. The 4 of them looked at each other. One of the young men walked out obediently, took out 5 headless idols from his spirit ring, and placed them in front of Zhuowen. "I have 5 headless idols with me, and the other 5 are with Wang Wenhong." The young man said honestly. Zhuowen nodded. After collecting the 5 idols without hesitation, he looked at the 4 people indifferently and said, "You came to me with such an aggressive attitude. Did you think that I would let you go easily after you handed over the headless idols?" The 4 young men felt their scalps go numb. The young man who handed over the idols was extremely decisive. He slashed out with his sword and cut off his right arm. Chapter 39:22. Zhuowen silently looked down at the 4 of them. He waved his sleeve and said, "You can leave now. I won't kill you today, but if I see you again, I will kill you." The 4 of them sighed in relief. After bowing to Zhuowen in gratitude, they quickly left the Great Rift Valley. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and summoned Li Xinbing, Ziling, and the others from the outside world. Li Xinbing and Ziling looked around in confusion and subconsciously asked, "Where are Wang Wenhong and the others?" "Wang Wenhong has been defeated by me. We have enough idols. For the next period of time, we just need to stay in this temple and wait for time to pass," Zhuowen said calmly. Li Xinbing and Ziling were both shocked. They didn't expect Zhuowen to be able to defeat Wang Wenhong. This was too terrifying, especially when they saw Wang Qingshue's body not far away. They believed Zhuowen's words without a doubt. After all, Wang Qingxue was Wang Wenhong's cousin. They were related by blood. If Wang Wenhong had not been defeated, he would not have left Wang Qingxue alone. For the next period of time, except for leaving at night, Zhuowen basically stayed in the temple in the Great Rift Valley. Since he defeated Wang Wenhong, although other cultivators came to the Great Rift Valley to compete for their headless idols, Zhuowen easily defeated them all. Every night, Zhuowen, under the leadership of Allah, looked for one warrior-level evil spirit after another, defeated them, and refined them all. As the number of human-level evil spirits he refined increased, Zhuowen's cultivation base also increased in an orderly manner. However, Zhuowen also found that as he refined more and more warrior-level evil spirits, the increase in cultivation brought to him by the warrior-level evil spirits became less and less. Zhuowen knew that as his cultivation continued to increase, the benefits brought to him by the warrior-level evil spirits became less and less. Do I need to find a higher-level evil spirit if I want to continue to break through? In the dim darkness, Zhuowen had just refined a warrior realm evil spirit. His deep gaze penetrated the darkness and fell into deep thought. Tonight was the 27th night since he entered this small world. In another 2 days, the 30 days would be up, and he would have to leave this small world. Allah carefully accompanied Zhuo when not far away. When he saw that Zhuowen's face didn't show any joy after refining the human-level evil spirit, his heart couldn't help but jump as a bad premonition arose in his heart. "Era, is there an all-level evil spirit in this small world?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Hearing this, Allah almost knelt down. He said with tears and snot running down his face, "Master Zhuo, this is just a small place. How could there be an evil spirit in this place? Don't let your imagination run wild." Allah was cursing in his heart. Mother asterisk cur. It's fine if he's looking for an all-level evil spirit. Zhuowen can deal with an all-level evil spirit, but this guy is crazy. He actually wants to find an all-level evil spirit. That kind of existence can crush them with just a finger. It's an existence that is beyond the reach of all-level evil spirits. Even if he knew, it was impossible for him to tell Zhuowen. That was simply courting death. Really? Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he stared at Allah unkindly. Allah was a little scared by his stare. His eyes flickered, and he didn't dare to look at Zhuowen. "Raise your head and look at me. Do you dare to say what you just said again?" Zhuowen said coldly. His eyes were filled with a terrifying, murderous intent. Allah's scalp was numb. He could feel the intense, murderous intent in Zhuowen's eyes. If he answered wrong, he was afraid that he would be killed by Zhuowen immediately. There is an all-level evil spirit, but that lord is too powerful. Even Master Zhuo, Allah's voice was getting weaker and weaker. Obviously, Zhuowen could guess what he was going to say next. Allah thought that the all-level evil spirit was too powerful for Zhuowen to deal with. Zhuowen chuckled and said, "That's not necessarily true. Tell me the location of that all-level evil spirit. I'll go and take a look tonight." Allah stammered. In the end, under Zhuowen's coercion, he finally told him the location. This small world was not too big. It was a paradise for many evil spirits. In this place, there were many all-level evil spirits. There were also many all-level evil spirits. Other than that, there was another even more powerful evil spirit. This evil spirit was the only all-level evil spirit in this small world. It was the king of this small world. It was a truly terrifying existence. This all-level evil spirit was called the Evil King by many of the evil spirits in this small world. It was the king of this small world. The Evil King lived in the Evil King Palace. The Evil King Palace was located in the center of this small world on a mountain peak that almost reached the clouds. The Evil King Palace was the most dangerous place in this small world. It was heavily guarded. There were many evil spirits guarding the perimeter of the Evil King Palace. There was no lack of all-level evil spirits. "Let's go. Our Evil King Palace," Zhuowen said as he pulled Allah and rushed into the depths of the darkness. "Oh my God, Master Zhuo, I don't need to go. If you want to go, you can go alone. I can't help you." Allah screamed, "You can help." Zhuowen smiled faintly. A vast grand mist God force condensed in his palm. For streams of God force flew out and landed on Allah's severed limbs. In an instant, Allah's limbs regrown. Allah also noticed that the composition of his limbs was different from the evil spirit's energy. They actually contained Zhuowen's vast grand mist God force. "Your limbs have merged with my vast grand mist God force. In addition to your all-level evil spirit's energy, you can restrain most all-level evil spirits. Among the all-level evil spirits, you are worthy of being called the king. This is the fortune I promised you." Zhuowen said calmly as he ran. Regrowing the limbs of evil spirits was something that Zhuowen had learned from the universal scripture of heaven and earth. The universal scripture of heaven and earth could seize the fortune of heaven and earth. He could refine the evil spirit's energy, and naturally, he could also imitate the evil spirit's energy to restore their bodies. This was something that Zhuowen came up with after comprehending the universal scripture of heaven and earth. Allah moved his limbs and revealed a look of ecstasy. He could feel that his new limbs were much more flexible than his old ones. Moreover, because of the grand mist God force contained in his attacks, Huang Xiaolong's attacks were able to suppress the nefarious spirits. Just as Zhuowen had said, he was invincible among the nefarious spirits. "Thank you, Master Zhuo." Allah was overjoyed. "If you really want to thank me, then follow me to the Evil King Palace. Otherwise, I will immediately take back your limbs." Zhuowen said coldly. Chapter 39:23. The Evil King Palace was located in the center of the small world at the peak of 10,000 feet mountain. When Mu Feng and Allah arrived at the foot of 10,000 feet mountain, the pressure on them increased greatly. The number of evil spirits around them was simply uncountable. Even though Allah was an elder-level evil spirit, which was of a higher level than these evil spirits, she could not withstand the covetous gazes of so many evil spirits. When they arrived at the foot of 10,000 feet mountain, an elder-level evil spirit with a human head and a snake body blocked their path. "Who are you? Tell me your name. And what's with this human?" The elder-level evil spirit ignored Juon and coldly stared at Allah's expression was a little unnatural as she hurriedly said, "This person is not an ordinary person. He's a disciple of the exorcist family. I accidentally caught him and wanted to offer him to the evil king." The elder-level evil spirit looked at Juon in astonishment. Clearly, he did not expect the latter to be a disciple of the exorcist family. This small world that we're in is isolated from the rest of the world. It's been a long time since we've met someone from the exorcist family. Your luck is pretty good to be able to catch such a human. I'll bring you to see the evil king. The elder-level evil spirit agreed readily. Then he turned around and led the two of them towards the peak of 10,000 feet mountain. Zhuo and Allah looked at each other. They were both surprised that things were progressing so smoothly. They thought that this lame excuse would not be reliable and that they would have to fight when the time came. They did not expect that this evil spirit would not doubt it at all. The 10,000 feet mountain was extremely tall, almost connecting the heavens and the earth. After the elder-level evil spirit led them into the mountain, the surrounding black gas gathered and turned into a huge black dragon. The elder-level evil spirit called out to Zhuo and Allah before leaping onto the black dragon's body. Zhuo and Allah followed closely behind. The black dragon suddenly felt pain and flew upwards at an extremely fast speed. After about an incense stick's worth of time, the black dragon brought them to the peak of 10,000 feet mountain. The peak of 10,000 feet mountain was extremely vast and stretched as far as the eye could see. At the centermost position, there was an incomparably huge pitch-black palace. Surrounding the palace, there were many cultivator-level evil spirits with extremely powerful auras patrolling the vicinity. After greeting the patrol captain, he brought Zhuo and Allah into the evil king palace without any obstructions. The evil king hall was very big, but inside the hall, there wasn't a single evil spirit. It was very spacious. The evil king hall was the territory of the evil king. Without the evil king's permission, no other evil spirits were allowed to enter this hall. If they barged in without permission and angered evil king, they would definitely die. The snake-bodied man brought the two of them to the entrance of the inner hall and said, "The evil king is already aware of your arrival. He is waiting for you in the inner hall. This is as far as I can go." After he finished speaking, the evil spirit with the human head and snake body simply retreated. Outside the hall, Allah looked extremely nervous. He looked at Zhuo, obviously waiting for the latter to make a decision. "Come in." At this moment, a dignified voice came from inside the hall. Zhuo and Allah looked at each other. Then Zhuo pushed open the door and walked in. The inner hall was not as big as the outer hall, but the decorations were more luxurious and magnificent. In the deepest part of the hall, there was a golden staircase that kept going up, and at the end of the staircase was a magnificent throne. At this moment, a majestic figure was sitting on the throne. This figure was covered in pitch-black armor, and his face was covered with a pitch-black mask. It was impossible to see this person's true appearance. Zhuo knew that this should be the master of the evil king palace, the evil king. Zhuo originally thought that the evil king should be the same as the other evil spirits, and should have a strange appearance. But he didn't expect that this evil king looked more like a human. Although he couldn't see his specific appearance, just from his figure, he could tell that he was closer to a human. The evil king's mask covered his face, and only a pair of scarlet eyes, emitting a faint, bloody light, indifferently stared at Zhuo and Allah in front of the hall. He looked at Zhuo with interest and said to Allah, "This person is the descendant of the exorcist family that you mentioned?" Allah's whole body trembled as he hurriedly replied, Yes, this person's strength is extremely strong. It took me a Herculean effort to capture him alive. The evil king nodded and slowly stood up. He suddenly waved his right hand, and Zhuowen couldn't help but fly towards the evil king like a piece of iron being attracted by a magnet. The evil king didn't seem to care about Zhuowen. In his eyes, this human was just an ant. How could he resist in front of him? When Zhuowen couldn't help but land on the throne, the evil king's face changed slightly. When this human was near him, he felt a vast power erupting from the human's body. This power was very strange, as if it could restrain their evil spirits. Boom! Zhuowen instantly punched out, and this punch contained his full strength. Vast grand mist god force poured out onto the evil king's body. At the same time, terrifying divine soul sword intent burst out from between Zhuowen's eyebrows. Dense divine soul sword intent surged and merged, forming an incomparably huge purple gold sword in the air, and slashed down on the evil king's head. In addition, Zhuowen also took out the three fires true mirror. His right fist punched out with full strength, and his left hand held the three fires true mirror. Instantly, boundless blood-red flames spewed out. The evil king faced a terrifying fist in front of him, the three fires true mirror on his left side, and the enormous purple gold sword slashed down on him from above. When these three attacks landed on the evil king's body, terrifying explosive sounds exploded out. Moreover, these sounds were continuous and unceasing. They reverberated and spread out in the surroundings. It was extremely terrifying and frightening. Allah, who was standing in front of the palace door, was dumbfounded when she saw this scene. Her face was pale white from fright. This little ancestor's guts were really big. He attacked the evil king as soon as he arrived. Wasn't he too daring? Moreover, with such a loud commotion, it probably attracted the attention of the evil spirits outside the evil king's palace. Just as Allah had expected, when the explosion occurred, the numerous evil spirits outside the evil king palace all stopped their actions and turned their gazes towards the evil king palace. Their eyes were filled with confusion. However, Allah had underestimated the evil king's deterrence. Although these evil spirits were puzzled by the explosions in the evil king's palace, they might have guessed that some kind of battle was happening inside. However, they were afraid of the evil king's aura. Without the evil king's permission, they wouldn't dare to take half a step into the evil king's palace. At most, they would guard this mountain for the evil king. Therefore, these evil spirits wouldn't enter the evil king's palace. Chapter 39:24. Most of the armor on the surface of the heretic king's body had shattered, and even half of the mask on his face had shattered, revealing his ferocious face. The heretic king's face was not human, but covered with green scales that looked a little like snake scales. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked very strange. Pucci, the heretic king, stood up with difficulty, but he still spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression changed drastically as he looked at the human sitting on the throne in disbelief. Allah was also shocked. When did Zhuowen become so powerful? Even the heretic king was heavily injured by him. However, what he didn't know was that Zhuowen's cultivation and strength had been constantly transforming during the process of refining the demonic spirit. In addition, the vast, grand mist divine power in his body was extremely effective in restraining the demonic spirit, as well as the level 4 astral weapon, 3 Fires True Mirror, on his body. Combined with the sneak attack, Zhuowen had heavily injured the evil king. As expected, "You bastard, you and the human are trying to trick me." The heretic king looked at Allah behind him and flew into a rage. He immediately figured out the details, and with a roar, he rushed towards Allah. Allah's expression changed drastically, and he fled in panic. Unfortunately, the heretic king's speed was much faster than him, and he quickly caught up to him. However, at this time, a broken bronze mirror appeared in front of Allah, blocking the heretic king's attack. Terrifying blood flames surged out, turning into an endless sea of fire, and instantly swallowed the heretic king. The heretic king groaned and retreated continuously, barely extinguishing the endless blood flames on his body. The moment he retreated, an incomparably huge purple-gold sword slashed down. The heretic king's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly blocked the attack. Clang! The ground under the heretic king's feet sank by several zhang, showing how terrifying this sword was. Zhuowen stepped out from the throne like a ghost, and instantly appeared behind the heretic king. His fists were like cannonballs, and they smashed into the heretic king's back. The heretic king spat out a mouthful of blood, and the broken armor on his back was directly smashed into powder. Terrifying fist prints were left on his body. Pucci, the heretic king flew forward and crashed into the throne, smashing the throne and the stairs connected to it into pieces. Kill him while he's down. Zhuowen naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity to beat a drowning dog. His entire body erupted with power, and he looked as terrifying as a god. Suddenly, Zhuowen and the evil king engaged in a fierce battle. However, the evil king was completely suppressed by Zhuowen. After all, he had been careless in the beginning and did not take Zhuowen seriously. Therefore, he had given Zhuowen a chance to launch a sneak attack and severely injure him. Now, he was only a little stronger than Allah, so how could he be a match for Zhuowen? Bang! Evil King was once again sent flying by Zhuowen, and the armor on his body was almost completely shattered. The evil king roared. His voice was filled with a strange feeling. In the next second, Zhuowen discovered that the numerous evil spirits that were waiting for orders in the evil king hall were now rushing into the hall like a tidal wave. Allah, close the hall door. Zhuowen shouted and once again rushed towards the evil king. He used all the strength in his body and punched at the evil king. Streaks of divine soul sword intent burst out with terrifying sword chi that overflowed and wreaked havoc in the entire space. The evil king was beaten until he vomited blood every time. The number of times he could block became less and less, as if he would be killed by Zhuowen at any time. His movements also became slower and slower. After hearing Zhuowen's words, Allah immediately realized the danger and immediately closed the huge hall door and locked it. Boom, boom, boom. The moment Allah locked the hall door, violent bombardment sounds came from outside the hall. It was as if countless attacks were bombarding the hall door. Allah leaned against the hall door and felt the violent trembling of the hall door. Her face became extremely pale. Damn it, this time I'm going to die because of this guy. Why did he have to come to the evil king hall? Isn't he courting death? When these evil spirits break open the hall door, how can we still be alive? Allah cursed in her heart. Boom. Suddenly, a figure fell from the distance and smashed into the center of the hall. Allah looked over and was stunned to find that this figure was the evil king. At this moment, the earth evil king could only be described with the word miserable. His entire body was covered with wounds and blood was flowing out. His entire body was twitching violently. Bang! A figure slowly descended from the sky and stepped on the evil king's body. He coldly said, "Let the evil spirits outside the hall leave." The evil king's eyes were still filled with fear, but more of it was ruthlessness. He said, "Hee, you came here for this king, right? Since this king will die sooner or later, I'll drag all of you down with me." After saying that, the evil king once again let out a shrill cry. After a while, the sound of impact outside the hall door became more and more terrifying. The hall door was on the verge of collapse, as if it couldn't hold on for much longer. "My lord, This hall door can't hold on for much longer. What should we do? Allah's face was incomparably pale as she trembled and said. Zhuowen also noticed that dense cracks had begun to appear on the hall door. In less than 15 minutes, it would completely shatter. Hee, let me go, and perhaps I can still give you a way out. Otherwise, all of you will die. The evil king sneered and said. Zhuowen didn't say anything. He directly stepped on the evil king's head to shut him up immediately. Allah, follow me into the great world. Zhuowen's eyes were serious. With a wave of his sleeve, a vortex suddenly appeared in front of him. Lord Zhuo, will we really be safe if we hide in your great world? Allah asked carefully. I'm not sure. Let's try it first. Perhaps it will be effective. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. Allah. In the end, Allah entered the great world because she realized that she had no other choice. After Allah entered the great world, Zhuowen also entered the great world with the evil king in his hand. The great world turned into extremely fine dust and fell on the edge of the hall door. Boom! At the same time, the hall door completely collapsed. One after another, evil spirits with terrifying auras rushed into the hall. In an instant, the inner hall was filled with evil spirits. These evil spirits naturally didn't see Zhuowen, the evil king, and the other two in the hall. They only saw the mess in the hall. The moment the hall door was destroyed, a speck of dust mixed with the other specks of dust consciously drifted out of the evil king hall. It was still very careful. The evil king is gone. Those two are also gone. The evil spirit with a human head and a snake body who brought Zhuowen to meet the evil king shouted angrily with a cold gaze. They must be hiding around the evil king hall. My 100 evil eyes can find them. An evil spirit with strange eyeballs all over its body said in a low, muffled voice, Evil, I quickly find them. If something happens to the evil king, I'm afraid it will be troublesome. The evil spirit with a human head and a snake body said anxiously. Xie nodded his head. After that, the countless eyeballs in his body abruptly flew out, covering the sky above the evil king hall. Streaks of blood-red light shot out from the eyeballs, instantly enveloping the entire evil king hall. Every corner of the evil king hall, even the drifting specks of dust, was under the surveillance of these evil eyes. There was nowhere to hide. Suddenly, one of the eyeballs rolled around and fixed its pupil on the entrance of the evil king hall. There, an inconspicuous speck of dust was drifting out of the hall in a very orderly manner. I see them. They are in a speck of dust outside the hall. Follow me. Chapter 39:25. In the outside world, Zhuowen was constantly paying attention to what was happening outside. When the evil eye used a secret technique to search the evil king temple, Zhuowen suddenly felt a sense of unease. Then, he discovered that the evil spirit with a human face and snake body had led a large group of evil spirits out of the evil king temple. Oh no, I've been discovered. Zhuowen knew that something was wrong. He rushed out of the outside world and used his movement technique to quickly escape down the mountain. Stop this human. The evil spirit with a human face and snake body saw Zhuowen running away and shouted. Suddenly, the evil spirits that were densely packed around the mountain rushed towards Zhuowen like crazy. Get lost! Zhuowen's eyes were gloomy. He used his movement technique and attacked with all his strength, killing all the evil spirits that blocked his way. However, there were too many evil spirits, and they still obstructed Zhuowen's advance. Seeing the evil spirit with a human face and snake body leading a group of evil spirits closer and closer, Zhuowen knew that if he did not escape, he would be completely trapped by these evil spirits, and it would be difficult for him to escape. Allah, get out here quickly. Zhuowen did not hesitate and pulled out Allah, who was still hiding in the outside world. The moment Allah came out, he released his aura. Instantly, most of the evil spirits in front of him moved aside and looked at Allah in fear. At this moment, the pressure on Zhuowen was lifted, and he said to Allah, "Follow me." After saying that, Zhuowen used the Grand Mist movement technique and turned into a purple lightning bolt, shooting out at an unprecedented speed. Allah followed closely behind, but after a while, he found that Zhuowen had left him a long distance behind. Whoosh! The purple shadow flashed and appeared in front of Allah again. Allah saw a hand reach out from the purple shadow and pulled Allah, disappearing on the spot again. With the suppression of Allah's aura, most of the evil spirits retreated, not daring to get close to Zhuowen. Without the hindrance of the evil spirits, Zhuowen instantly pulled away from the human-faced, snake-bodied evil spirits and quickly shook them off. When Zhuowen returned to the Great Rift Valley, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. "Master Zhuo, you're so fierce. You even killed the evil king." Allah gave a thumbs up, praising Zhuowen incessantly. Her heart of reverence was like a surging river. "Era, you are free. You can leave now." Zhuowen looked at Allah and said. Allah was stunned. And then she looked at the young man in front of her with a complicated expression. Unknowingly, he actually started to get used to the feeling of following this young man around, especially when it came to tricking the various evil spirits and finally tricking the evil King Hall. These were things he would never do in his entire life. However, after following the young man for more than 10 days, he had done all these things that he had never dared to think about before. He actually dared to feel excitement and pleasure in his heart. "What? Aren't you leaving?" Zhuowen looked at Allah, who hadn't left yet, in surprise. Allah bowed deeply to Zhuowen and said, "Master Zhuo, I wish you a bright future and a bright future." After saying that, Allah left without looking back. "Allah, I also wish you a meteoric rise and reach the top." Zhuowen murmured softly as he looked at Allah's departing figure. After saying that, he found a remote place and entered the great world. At the edge of the great world's central lake, the evil king was imprisoned and fell on the shore in a sorry state. Around the evil king were 3 divine swords, constantly monitoring him. Boy, the evil king's recovery ability is a little scary. He almost broke free from your seal. Xiaohe rushed over and said with a serious expression. Zhuowen nodded. He also noticed that the seal on the evil king's body had dimmed a lot. The evil king lived up to his name as an evil spirit. His recovery ability was much stronger than other evil spirits. "Human, I am the king of this world. If you let me go, I will let bygones be bygones." The evil king said coldly. Zhuowen sneered and said, "You are now my food. I will not give up food that is right in front of my mouth." Looking at the smile on Zhuowen's face, the evil king's heart skipped a beat. What was wrong with this human? Why was he treating him like food? Soon, he realized that the young man in front of him had arrived in front of him and grabbed his head with his right hand. An extremely restrictive force poured out of his palm and into the depths of his brain. The evil king's pupils shrank. He felt that the energy and structure in his body were gradually being refined by this strange force. You are refining me? Be *starred. The evil king was furious. The evil force in his body suddenly surged out. Uffed. Zhuowen was hit by this force and spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with hatred. He ignored the backlash and began to refine the evil king in a frenzy. Xiaohe looked worriedly at Zhuowen, who was spitting out blood and refining at the same time. She was really worried that Zhuowen would be killed by the backlash from the evil king. Fortunately, after a while, the evil king began to weaken. The backlash also weakened. Zhuowen's condition also improved a lot. Xiaohe was relieved. When dawn came, Zhuowen had only refined 1/10 of the evil king's energy. It had to be said that the evil king's energy was extremely pure. It was far above the evil spirit. Zhuowen's cultivation had improved a lot. He was not far from a breakthrough. Zhuowen did not continue refining. Instead, he left the outside world and returned to the palace. In the remaining 10 days, the competition in the small world would become more intense. Zhuowen had to guard the palace during the day. For the next 9 days, Zhuowen guarded the palace during the day and frantically refined the evil king at night. His cultivation was steadily improving, and his aura was becoming more and more vigorous. Finally, on the 10th day, Zhuowen, who was in the outside world, had completely refined the evil king and turned it into his own energy. His aura had also reached an extremely terrifying level. Boom, 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 boom. A terrifying sound like thunder exploded from Zhuowen's body. I've finally accumulated enough energy. I'm about to break through. Zhuowen's eyes were shining. He slowly walked out of the outside world and away from the Great Rift Valley. He had a premonition that his breakthrough to the yin-yang change would be extremely terrifying. If he was too close to the Great Rift Valley, he was afraid that it would affect Ziling, Li Xinbing, and the others. Zhuowen also noticed that as he ran in the dark, the evil spirits around him were avoiding him. They had probably sensed the terrifying aura that was faintly erupting from his body. Let's go to the 10,000 feet mountain. Zhuowen grinned. He recalled the time when he was chased by the evil spirit with a human face and a snake's body. He was about to break through, and it was time to repay them. When Zhuowen arrived at the 10,000 feet mountain, he was immediately discovered by the evil spirit patrolling the foot of the mountain. "Human, how dare you? After kidnapping the evil king, you still have the face to return to the 10,000 feet mountain." The evil spirit immediately recognized Zhuowen.